Beyond Synth 401.
Hey there, welcome to the show. This is Beyond Synth. It's the best synthwave chat show there is, although today we're actually not talking to a synthwave artist or anything like that. We're talking to, I'm talking to a guy called Mark Edwards, who has really funny videos on TikTok and Instagram. I first found him because I stumbled on this series of videos he did where he was like parodying sort of like conspiracy podcast types, and it was just so spot on, like they're perfect, and I was very impressed. And then I scrolled back through his stuff, and it turned out he had done this whole series doing like a parody of like the 80s cop thing with Sunglasses Kid music in the background, where he just takes some black electrical tape and makes a mustache, and then he's like talking about Linetti or whatever. Actually, maybe I'll play a clip, because I don't really think we play too many clips throughout the show. So just to give you some context, here's some audio from one of his like silly Instagram videos.
Can I blow your mind right now? Okay. What if dinosaurs caused their own extinction? Let that sink in. So Chris and I were talking about this because he took a geology elective as part of his undergrad. And scientists have never been able to explain why we find dinosaur skeletons so far beneath the surface of the Earth. If they were killed in a mudslide or by an asteroid, we wouldn't find their bones 100 meters underground. It doesn't make any sense. So the only logical explanation is that dinosaurs were traveling into the Earth at the time that they died. And what scientists can't agree on, as usual, is how they died on this trip. And there's really two theories. One is that there was an ice age, and the dinosaurs were burrowing for warmth, and they died in the process. But the second, far more interesting, but also far more sinister theory, is as follows. We know that dinosaurs had conquered the Earth, right? I mean, Tyrannosaurus Rex is literally, and you can look this up, it's Latin for king of the lizards. So we know that there was some sort of hierarchy in place, or at the very least, a caste system. But once you've conquered the entire surface of a planet, there's only one place left to go. The core.
Sometimes, listen, I like to chat with people who make things that I enjoy, okay? But we're still going to listen to cool music, so it's all good, okay? You're still going to get some music. We talk about movies and animation and stuff, so like the subject matter of the conversation is the same. Anyways, listen, if you enjoy Beyond Synth, maybe you don't know if you do yet, but if you do, you can support it on Patreon. Like my awesome Patreon supporters, I've been way behind on doing my Patreon thank yous, so I will be thanking everybody, all the awesome patrons throughout this show. But I do have two announcements to make. We got a new patron in the Is This Synthwave Club, D. Williams. Thank you to D. Williams. You are cool. Thank you for supporting Beyond Synth. And next, Riley Booth has upgraded his support. That's right, Mr. Riley Booth is now one of the Knights of Synth. Do I still call it that? I was kind of renaming some of the Patreon tiers because I'm slowly actually making them different than each other. It's going to get better, I swear. So obviously Riley Booth is a very cool person, and that was quite the upgrade. So thank you, Riley Booth, for supporting the arts, which is... I don't know what's going on. Okay, so look, listen, let's get this show started. We're going to listen to some music, and then after that, we are going to go chat with Mark Edwards, okay? So I'm going to play two songs back to back here just because the first one is short. They're from the same album. So there's this great album from Broken Videos. That's what they're called. I dig this whole thing, but I love the intro song, and... it's only like 1:40, so I'm going to play the intro, which is just called Broken Videos, and then follow that with a track Dawn City, and then when the song's over, we'll be chatting with Mark Edwards. So this is Broken Videos with the track Broken Videos and Dawn City. And that was Broken Videos with the titular Broken Videos track and Dawn City. And you can find Broken Videos album at New Retro Waves Bandcamp. And that, of course, was brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters, the King of the Pattersons, Mike Shima. You are cool, Mike Shima. You know that. And now I am here with Mr. Mark Edwards. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So I stumbled upon your videos on Instagram. There's sort of a synthwave connection, but the first thing I saw of yours was the podcast character you did. So you make these little short comedy videos, and it was so perfect. It was like one of the most perfect impressions or whatever I've seen of a thing. And then I started scrolling backwards in your account, and I saw you also did these videos, these Lanetti 80s cop parody things with Sunglasses Kid music.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, see, this all is connected. Anyways, that's all. So that's your introduction. Tell everybody about yourself.
That's everything.
Yep. Good.
I made 3 Instagram videos, and before that I was Zygote. No, I don't know. What do you want to know?
Let's rewind here. So first of all,
Sure.
You are a comedian. Is that what? I hate setting you up like that, because now it's going to be like, you better be fucking funny, asshole, or I'm going to hang up on you. But I will hang up on you.
That's fine. Yeah, I would say I'm a comedian. I don't know if anyone else would. But I went to a comedy program in college in 2009, which lasted for 2 years. And then I finished that and didn't really do much stand-up after that, but I was working full-time doing voice acting and lots of commercials and stuff. And then I got back into stand-up a couple years ago, and then somewhere in the last 2 years, I think, I started posting on TikTok because I am young and hip. And then I started posting that stuff on Instagram. And then you sent me a message and here we are. That's my entire life.
Did you do the Humber course?
I did the Humber course, yes.
I went to Humber for film.
Oh, nice.
In 2002, maybe?
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
About you going to the Humber film program?
You like that?
Well, are you working in film?
Well,
so it would appear that the Humber comedy program is more successful than the film program.
Yeah, I remember meeting the people that were sort of going to that course, but I found them at the time. Everybody has their sort of cliques, and I found that the comedy students were kind of obnoxious.
Yeah,
because they were loud and rowdy, we're the funny guys,
Yep. Yeah, that's fair.
Were you one of those guys, or are you more meek, you just sort of studying them, going, I'm going to make fun of those guys one day? Or
the people that were really loud have never done comedy even one time since finishing the program.
I'm really curious as to what, well, okay, I guess why you decided to take the course, but also what you do when you're there. I've never understood the curriculum because I've never known it.
I had originally planned on going to animation school.
Dude!
But I super did not get in.
Okay, can I just stop you?
Yeah.
That's why I went to film school, because when I got out of high school, I'm like, I want to get into animation. And everyone's like, oh, you got to go to Sheridan, Sheridan's, and I wanted to do 3D.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to do, Sheridan, for 3D.
Because I wanted to just go right into 3D, and they're like, oh, but you have to take a year of classical animation first, and then you have to submit all these drawings and things. And I'm like, I don't fucking have any I got nothing to submit, because it's like, this is a computer job, right? We're going to go on computers and make things. So when I found out how much work it was, I took just 2 years off and just moved to Toronto and worked at Toys R Us in the bank, and then eventually just went to film school, which I did enjoy, but it's when I was a kid, I thought I would be an animator. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, I worked at the bank and Mastermind Toys, so we basically did the same thing and then failed to be animators.
Did you work at the Mastermind that was in that underground mall?
No, I worked at the one at just north of Yonge and Lawrence.
Yeah, because when I worked at the bank, sometimes I would take the path.
Which bank?
I worked at Royal Bank.
Oh, yeah, I was at Scotia.
Ooh. I guess that makes us enemies. I went at first I did temp work, when I first moved to Toronto. And so I worked in the place where they did tax returns or something. And then I had a buddy who worked in the basement of the Royal Bank sorting envelopes. There's a job where you get the big bins of the envelopes that people put in the ATMs, and you have to cut them open and take the money out. It was a real sweet job, except I was fucking shitty at it, because it was just me and a room full of 60 Filipina ladies, and they were so fucking fast. Like the way that they did it was crazy, and like I'm trying to match them, but like I don't know why. I have no reason behind it, but they were just so efficient at that job, and like I couldn't top it. Yeah, then I left.
It's too bad you didn't become a filmmaker, because that would have made a fascinating movie.
I guess. It was just really kind of boring down there. I mean, it must be worse now doing those sorts of, I don't want to say corporate jobs, but like even at the time, this was like 2006 or 7, and we'd have to have those daily meetings every day at lunchtime, and they'd like talk about, oh, you want to get ahead and advance, and like they were really uncomfortable and awkward, and like the whole time you're like, just let us get back to work, man. Like I put my headphones on and cut envelopes. I still don't know if I say envelopes or envelopes. I just realized I think I say it both ways, and it makes me uncomfortable each time.
Oh, true. Envelope. I think I say N, like the letter N.
Yeah.
That's how I would say it.
I think I do it both ways, but like, I don't know why. I think one sounds classier than the other.
So anyways, I didn't get into Sheridan. I really did not get in. And then I got into a radio broadcasting program at Seneca and Humber. So I went to Humber because it sounded like more fun. Basically, you do a bit of everything. Like we had an improv class, an acting class, a stand-up class, a writing class, a sketch comedy class. And then all through the year, you're doing like live shows. Like there's a Humber student night at Yuck Yucks, which is before the regular amateur night. And then there's, they would rent like the Factory Theater or whatever downtown, and we'd do like a show there. And then we had a grad show at the old Second City Theater, which is now a condo. Our host that year was Andrea Martin from SCTV, which you may not know, but she's amazing.
Hey man, I'm an old man.
Sorry.
Hey, you think I don't know these cultural Canadian references?
You know Andrea Martin?
Yeah, she's my mom.
Oh.
Wait, so are you... Okay, so I'm trying to place you here, because you're one of those people who, when I look at you, you could tell me you were various ages and I would believe you.
Yeah, well, how old do you think I am?
Well, you've given me some clues here, some context clues.
Okay, work backwards.
So...
I started a 2-year program in 2009, but I didn't tell you how old I was when I started it.
True.
Okay, so there's missing factors in this
Okay, well, let's
equation.
see. I started mine in 2002, but I also took 2 years off.
Okay.
So I could have theoretically gone to college in 2000, but did not.
So you started college in 2002 when you were 20?
Yeah.
So you're...
I'm 42. I'm not afraid
42.
to tell.
Oh, yeah. No, I just couldn't do the math that fast.
So...
I'm 33.
I see, your man doesn't like to play games. I was hoping to extend that bit for another fucking 10 minutes, because I got nothing
I was hoping
to say.
we could do more math. Yeah, no, I'm 33. I went right out of high school. So I finished when I was 20.
Yeah.
Finished college when I was 20. And then January 2012, I started voice acting. And then, I've just been acting and writing full-time since then.
Like, how did you get your initial gigs? Like voice acting gigs? Were you just literally auditioning, or did you have like school connections?
So that graduation show we did at Second City with Andrea Martin, an agent came up to me right afterwards and was like, do you have an agent? And I was like, no. And then that was it. So she just sent me for auditions for a lot of commercials that first summer, and I didn't land any of them. That's not true. I did a Quebec-only McDonald's commercial that was on for 2 weeks.
In English?
Yes.
Okay.
It was whatever. There was a Quebec World's Fair or something like that in 1967. So they did this limited run of like the 1967 burger, which was, I think it was just a regular burger, but you couldn't buy it if you were black. I don't know. Sorry.
Stupid.
Anyways, and then my first animation audition was that show that I got.
Yeah.
So I was working at Mastermind at the toy store, sitting in the break room in the basement, eating my lunch, and I got an email with that audition. I was like, oh, cool. I've never auditioned for animation, but I've always wanted to do it. I didn't actually want to be an animator. I just wanted to be involved in animation because I love it.
When I think back, I don't even know why I wanted to do it, because I made movies when I was in high school.
Yeah.
But then for some reason, when college came around, it was just sort of like, oh, I want to animate. And I actually couldn't tell you why. I don't even think I really cared that much. I mean, at the time, 3D animation was like, what, like Toy Story 2? I don't know what I would be.
2002?
Yeah, what year was that?
Toy Story 2. Oh, wait, hold on. Toy Story was 95. Toy Story 2 was, I think, 98. By 2002, we already had Shrek, bro. So, yeah, things were heating up in the computer animation world.
Yeah, that's true. I could have been a proud animator on Shrek 5 or whatever the fuck it is now. You know, I've never actually sat through one of those.
Really?
Maybe the first one I watched.
Well, you were probably past the target age. Like when I saw Shrek is 2001, right? So it's my second favorite thing that happened that year. And my wife just looked at me like, why did you say that? I'm also married. Humble brag.
Ooh, look at you. Is she happy about the characters you play?
Yeah, I think she'd prefer more consistency, but
Does she like act like your de facto manager? It's like, listen, you can clearly see that these videos are trending higher. Make more of these. Make some more money. Does she say that?
No, not really.
Would you like her to?
I don't think so.
You don't need someone in your life like lighting the fire under your ass, like you can do it yourself?
No, I just do that myself.
Well, I mean, you're an enterprising guy. You post lots of videos.
Yes, I'm an entrepreneur. No, all I was saying is I was 10 when Shrek came out, and like Shrek was so much naughtier than like A Bug's Life. And so for us as 10-year-olds, it was like, this is the funniest movie we've ever seen. I can't believe it. There's farts. Are you kidding me? That's allowed?
When I hear Smash Mouth, like it makes me upset.
Yeah, I don't like...
I'm not trying to be cool. Like I worked as a fucking dish job and I listened to that shit and I liked 80s music and synth pop and they wouldn't let me play it. I remember I played Radiohead and fucking June, who's like the bold boss lady who was an old mean lady, and she called it cult music and she made me turn it off. Like I was listening to Radiohead and she wouldn't let me. She's like, you gotta turn that cult music off. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? And then we'd have to listen to the radio, and the radio up here is all just pop country. Like that's the station here. Lone Star, like Baby I'm Amazed and Faith Hill and all this junk, like just junk.
I never like when there's pop music or whatever you want to call it in a movie, like in literally any context. I want to hear the score, like write music. Like I don't like when big moments in a movie, like in Thor Ragnarok. Yeah, fine, it was cool for the trailer, but to use Immigrant Song in that moment, I'm like, no. The reason they're using Immigrant Song is because nobody ever wrote Thor his own theme song. I mean, that's not true. Brian Tyler wrote some cool music for the first movie, but like, I don't think anybody could hum it except me. Or they always used AC/DC for Tony Stark. I don't know. It takes me out. It reminds me that I'm watching a movie, because it's like, oh, now I'm just hearing a real world song. Like, especially in 90s comedies and stuff, like there would be like a montage and all of a sudden they're playing Walking on Sunshine. You're like, oh yeah, right. This is a movie, and now I'm watching editing. I'm watching editing happening because this is just movie clips over a pop song. I hate that.
Yeah, and speaking of movie clips playing over a pop song, we got to listen to some music, all right? So I got a nice synth pop song here. It's from a group called Trademark. However, this is a remix by Binster, who sometimes goes by .mpegasus. But in this case, he is going by Binster. It's complicated. Anyways, listen, it's brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters, Mike Erdahl with the 5666, and well, we already mentioned Riley Booth, so how about Brendan Decker? That's right. You're all cool. Thank you for supporting the show. And now let's listen to this. This is Magnificent by Trademark, the Binster remix. That was Trademark with Magnificent, remixed by Binster, or .mpegasus, depending on what the weather's like, and that was brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters, like Randy with the 4121, and Dinner Dog with the 3164. I should figure out what to call you guys. And you know what? And Ty Brady 3, I owe you a thank you. It's been a while since I've been thanking people. Anyways, yeah, and we're here with comedian Mark Edwards. We're talking about, what are we talking about? Overused songs in movies and just the annoyance of hearing pop music in movies in general.
Yeah, playing a pop song in a movie is almost always a joke. I mean, sometimes it's like an emotional scene or whatever, but oftentimes it's for comedy. But the comedy is, ha ha ha, we're using a pop song.
Yes.
Ha ha ha, we're using the whatever, Hello by Lionel Richie. Isn't it funny now that this guy is turning in slow motion? I don't even like slow motion. Yeah. Because now you're showing me that you're editing a movie. It looks so bad when an action scene has slow motion because you're like, oh right, they did 1,000 takes of this. And they chose the best one. They slowed it down. And so to put a pop song in where it's hello, you're like, okay, oh right, yeah, this is a movie.
Well, also that particular joke, I think even I've called that one out too. Every time it's like, what's a comedic song to play when a character loves another song? What if the cat looks up at the dog and then it plays Hello by Lionel Richie?
Yeah.
Like, and it's always Hello by Lionel Richie.
It's literally in Shrek 4. Shrek 4 has Hello by Lionel Richie.
Yeah, they also do... which is disappointing because those Paddington movies are actually not bad movies, but they also do the comedic music sound drop, and they also do a Hello by Lionel Richie at one point.
Yeah, the Peanuts movie that came out like 8 or so years ago. It's really good, and it did a really good job of like being a 3D movie, like a CG movie, but still moving like the old hand-drawn specials. Like it was so good, and it still had the Linus and Lucy, like all those great songs. But then right in the middle of the movie, there's a Meghan Trainor song. And you're like,
yeah.
The whole point of Peanuts is you don't even know like what time period it is. I mean, it's basically the 50s, wink, wink. Like they still use rotary phones and all that. But the second there's like a Meghan Trainor song and Snoopy's dancing, you're like, come on.
Also, I mean, it's one of the things I hold against like the DreamWorks movies and that sort of ilk in general is the infusion of a pop song that sucks, and also that obligatory, like the end credits is always just the characters dancing to one. And it's like, I don't know what this is.
That's why the best DreamWorks movie is How to Train Your Dragon. It fires on all cylinders. It's probably one of the best scores ever written, and the story's amazing, and there's no pop songs. Yeah, there's no fourth wall, wink, wink. Ha ha ha, you're watching a kid's movie.
Yeah, even when I like the song, I get annoyed by it. Like I watched like the Super Mario Brothers movie, you know, like an adequate film. I don't know how else to describe it. It was like made by a lab or something. It's like, here's all the things we got to do to make the exact movie that's not going to be too exciting, but also be fine.
Yeah.
And then there's one scene where they go racing Mario Karts, but then they play Take On Me by Aha, which is one of my favorite songs. But in the movie, I'm like, why the fuck are you doing this? Like, you're literally making a movie based on a game that has some of the most iconic fucking music of all time.
Yeah.
Just orchestrate that shit. Like, just get an orchestra to play the Mario Brothers music. There's like 50 pieces of music you could choose from, and it would make people very happy as well. Like, if all of a sudden they started to race Mario Karts and it started playing like fucking Luigi's track theme or something, you know, you'd be excited as a guy who likes that. And I like that.
And it's also like, who's this for? Because the kids watching the movie don't know Take On Me by Aha, and adults watching it are like, oh, it's Take On Me by Aha.
Yeah.
Haha, oh, that's cool, I guess. No, it's not. I don't know why they do things like that. Again, another rant I could go on is how I don't understand the choices they make for children's entertainment. Because, okay, the best example is the Yogi Bear movie. There hasn't been a Yogi Bear cartoon since like 1987. Mm-hmm. And then they make a movie in like 2008 for 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
They don't even know who Yogi Bear... That's not going to get them into Yogi Bear. It makes no sense.
Yogi Bear was like an antiquated reference for me.
Yeah.
Like I remember thinking like Yogi Bear, like to make a modern Yogi Bear is like to make a modern Gumby. You know, just like Gumby, like what the fuck is that? And like you gotta like look it up and like, oh shit, it's weird as hell.
Is this even accurate? Because I don't really remember anything about it.
Yeah,
yeah, it's bizarre. The only good adaptations were that first Scooby-Doo movie with Matthew Lillard and the Flintstones with John Goodman. You can't do better than that. But any other cartoon that they adapt is just horrible.
Yeah, let me think.
The hill I'm willing to die on is that the Flintstones is the best animation to live action adaptation because it's not a kid's movie. It's literally about like adoption and marital problems and debt. It's not like a dumb kids movie. Like it's still got, you know, Dino and some slapstick stuff, but really it is. It's like a sitcom for adults basically as a movie.
Did you ever watch the direct-to-video sequel Viva Rock Vegas?
Oh yeah, with Mark Addy and Jane Krakowski and William Baldwin. Heck yeah, bro. Don't get me started.
I mean, I guess he is like the best Baldwin now, right?
Is he well, he hasn't shot anything.
Yeah, yes. Well, I mean, maybe not on a film set. I don't know what they do in private. These Hollywood elites. Hey, I want to talk about some of your shit you've done because it's really funny. I'm a fan of your work.
Thanks.
You do this character. Are you an artist person? Like, do you get that thing where you do a thing and it's like really popular and then you get like annoyed that you don't want to do it anymore because that's the one that people liked? Are you like that?
No. No, I only do things that I think are funny.
Now, is that particular character based on a specific person or is it just like the vibe you've sussed out?
Sorry, which character?
Oh, the fucking the podcast one.
Oh,
because that character is fucking perfect and the comment section is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I don't watch you on TikTok because I'm an old man, so I just watch the Instagram versions. But the amount of people that don't get it is amazing, but also weird.
There's way more people on Instagram that don't get it.
Okay.
I mean, there's still a ton of people telling me I'm an idiot, but
sure,
there seems to be more people on TikTok that just could tell it was a joke. But yeah, no, it wasn't based on anything specific. This is super boring, but basically the very first one I posted, it was about how far away the moon is. Have you seen that one?
Yes.
But I'm like, the moon is this far away, but if you measured that with lions, it'd be like 30,000 lions, and there aren't 30,000 lions. So how is that possible?
Can I blow your mind right now? Okay. So the moon is 384,000 kilometers away, supposedly. All right. That's about 192,000 adult lions in terms of length, in terms of distance, right? But the IUCN estimates that there are less than 30,000 lions left. Think about that. So there's less than 30,000 lions, but the moon is 192,000 lions away. Doesn't make sense.
Like, it was just like the worst false dichotomy ever.
Yes.
It was just completely arbitrary. And the math is wrong because it should be 300,000 lions. So then everyone's like, why are these lions 2 kilometers long? But I wasn't originally going to post that doing it as a podcast character. I was going to post it doing a parody of Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Right. Okay.
Because I find it funny that he always makes videos, or any of those like space guys. It's always like these really childish, if the earth was a bowl of noodles.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
Well, that's because you're an idiot, and the only way you're ever going to understand is with some fucking patronizing metaphor.
Yeah, that's if all of space was a women's footlocker.
Yeah.
The United States is a single poppy seed on a bagel. What? So that's what it was originally going to be, and I was going to do it with like graphics on the screen, where it's like I was just going to do it like with like that spacey music. I don't know. That was the original idea, but I was like, wow, I really don't want to do all that. And I'd made this other one about Abraham Lincoln. Like podcast guy, talking about why are there no photos of Abraham Lincoln, which I think is still the most viewed one. But then when I was sitting there with it already set up, I was like, I don't want to set this all up again. Because basically I clip a lav mic to my actual mic and then I plug it into my phone.
So the mic is a prop?
Yeah, there's not even an XLR cable plugged into the microphone. And people will still be like, you should put a hashtag so people know this is satire. I was like, I'm wearing 3 pairs of glasses.
Well, that's the one that fucking
and there's no
killed me,
cable
man.
plugged into the microphone. And I'm talking about how the Colossus of Rhodes was a giant that built the pyramids for Cleopatra's dad. Like, I don't know what to tell you. If you think that's real, you're a lost cause.
Yeah. Well, look, listen, I want to keep talking about this, but it's time for more music. All right. And I got a cool one from Evans and Sørcery. And the O in Sørcery is a /0. And it's from the album Destiny. It's brought to you by my awesome patrons like Hugh Hefner and in the $25 club. We got Robot Conglomerate, Emil, and Zach. And I hope you dig this. This song is called Vector by Evans and Sørcery. Sorcery. And that was Evans and Sørcery with the track Vector, which was brought to you by my cool Patreon supporters in the $25 club like Waylon Kasky Geospatial and your friendly neighborhood raccoon Petey and Ninja Foodie Master. And I'm back with comedian Mark Edwards, and I realize it's actually a little tricky talking about your videos because obviously the audience listening right now can't see them, but they're so funny, and like the fact that there's people out there who are so stupid that they think some of your parodies are real, like especially when you're playing the podcast guy and you're wearing like 3 pairs of glasses and you keep taking them off and then there's like another pair underneath and people still don't know like it's a joke.
Yeah, I'll get direct messages saying you're an idiot. It's probably not even noticeable how much time I spend making those stupid videos. Like I spend an inordinate amount of time writing them. I don't just sit down and improvise them. I will stand in the kitchen with my wife and go like, okay, here's the dumb idea. Here's the dumb idea. And I have to make a statement that is based on a false premise, but is realistic enough that someone could make that assumption. Or I have to pose a question that will make people have to Google it. Like I did one recently that was like, why does water evaporate at room temperature? But to reduce a pot of water, you have to boil it. And you probably can't just tell me the answer right now, but you know what I'm saying is wrong, because then I go on to say that like if I left a glass of water on the table, it would evaporate overnight. No, it wouldn't. It would have to be in like the desert for that to happen. So first I have to come up with the initial idea. Then I have to figure out how to approach it completely wrong, but not so wrong that it's obviously a joke. Then I have to connect it to something else to justify why I brought it up in the first place, which is usually aliens, pyramids, whatever. Like I'll give you an example. I've got one that I haven't made yet. Okay, so this is a spoiler alert. It starts with the question, if the center of the earth is hot, why does the ocean get colder the deeper you go? You're getting closer to the warm center, right? It's pretty obvious why, but in that moment you go, wait. And the answer is because the bottom of the ocean is like 1/1000th of like the diameter through the earth. You know what I mean? Like it's not even close to the core.
So then how do you come up with the initial question? Because I guess that's the seed of the whole idea. So like, do you stress over that initial concept piece? Because like, I get you can sort of like start to freeform once you get going, but it's that initial, because dude, the fucking, maybe I'll spoil one, but like I laughed the hardest actually at the one that just ended with diamonds. the underground.
Yeah. Okay. So that one was.
Can I blow your mind right now? Okay. Why do we find dinosaur skeletons in mines? So let that sink in. Chris and I were talking about this because we drove up to go camping for his bachelor weekend, and we drove past a mine, and I said, why do we find dinosaur skeletons in mines when the only reason to build a mine is to search for fuel or metal? Now, scientists have not been able to explain why dinosaurs would require either of those resources. But the answer appears to lie in the extinction of the dinosaurs. Right? For the longest time, scientists, they try their best, thought that dinosaurs were killed by the explosion from an asteroid. Well, what if the explosion was caused by something else? And if you're asking yourself what it could be caused by, ask yourself, what can you build with metal and fuel? I'll give you a hint, a little something called the Cold War. So maybe it wasn't an asteroid that killed these dinosaurs, but their own hubris. And if you really want to go down this rabbit hole with me, you're probably starting to wonder, what would this war be fought over? Well, there's only one other thing that you look for in a mine. Diamonds.
That starts with the question is false. I start with the question, why do we find dinosaur bones in mines?
Yeah.
And the answer is, we don't. We dig mines and then we find dinosaur fossils. We don't find bones. Bones don't survive. So that's the other thing. Even the question itself is loaded with something for people to attack me about in the comments.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like it's not an exact science, but it's like alchemy, where I'm like, I have to bait them. And I'm literally not trying to trick people into thinking like that this is real. It was always supposed to be stupid from the beginning. I just stopped putting hashtag satire because people did, even when I put hashtag satire, even when I put a flare on the screen that said every guy with a podcast, people still thought it was real.
Yes.
Like a guy commented today that was like, there's literally nothing about this video to suggest that it's satire. You should put something in the comments so that people don't think it's real. I was like, so what you're saying is you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dinosaur one was, so the premise is false already, but then this character digs down deeper on the false premise. If someone had explained to him why the premise is false, he wouldn't have a leg to stand on, but because I'm the only one there, nobody can say anything. So why do we find dinosaur bones in mines? Because they built the mines. Makes no sense.
But also, in the realm of actual like conspiracy theory podcasts, they are playing a game of improv. I mean, they don't realize that's what they're doing, but it's like, that's their whole world, is just yes-anding. They just get some crazy asshole who comes in like, oh yeah, I used to work on a military base, and no one questions anything. It's just sort of like, oh yeah, really? And then like, oh, here's what they were doing. And then like they draw these wacky connections and everyone just sort of like goes along with it. And anytime someone just invents a new conspiracy theory, they just sort of go, oh yeah, that's interesting, even if they don't comprehend that new sentence sort of contradicts the previous thing they also agreed to.
I'm doing intentionally what stupid people are doing accidentally, which is formulating a theory based off of a false premise.
What I also love about that one, though, I mean, not to harp on this one, but I feel like it's like sort of like the richest, because there is also multiple underlying jokes in there that is like there's this sort of through line, this continuity. The one thing you do as this character is, which I love as well, is always reference a character called Chris, who has apparently a different backstory every time you reference him.
He actually doesn't have a different backstory. His backstory is consistent.
Oh, is it?
If you watch every video in order, I never give any contradicting information about him.
Okay. I guess then,
and that's my favorite part, is the meta narrative of people going in the comments being like, "Hold on, they're brothers, stepbrothers, half brothers. Wait." And then someone goes, no, in a previous video.
Oh, because I always thought it was like, because as I'm watching them all, I'm like, wait a second, is he's dad? But then he's like, oh, he's getting married. But then he's like helping him move out. But then he's like getting groceries for him. And then like, it's just like, there's all this stuff that like, but I love that aspect of it is funny. Even though now I guess I'm just revealing that I don't get it, because I thought they were fucking did different things. And then the glasses thing, which I love. It's just goofy.
Yeah, I like to stack the jokes.
That's why I think that whole thing overall is just, it's just perfectly executed. Even just the visual as well. It all works.
Thank you.
Now the rest of these things are
the thing about the actual conspiracy theorists, though, is like they just pose a question that there's almost always an answer to, then try to like spin some big yarn off of it. Like even just with the eclipse that just happened, like some of the things I've seen people posting about, I'm like, you might be the dumbest people in the history of the planet.
I don't know what to say about when scientists or even just people who understand like the Earth rotation and stuff can just tell you like, yeah, like this eclipse is going to come this date. They told us like this thing has been known forever, but then they still treat it as like, well, you know, it's a sign. It's fucking God saying that, you know, we got to not have so many abortions or whatever. I'm like, so he planned this warning in advance? Like this whole thing's on a cycle. Like we knew this was a thing that was going to happen. Like it's not like a surprise, like there were too many abortions this year. Now there's like a sudden eclipse. Like it just doesn't make any sense.
But people say things like, how can the moon be the exact size of the Earth to block it out? It actually is. It's like a really interesting coincidence. That's all, bro. But then they're like, no, it's actually the planet Nibiru. You're like, what are you talking about? It's a rogue planet floating through. And that's like a common thing.
Dude.
A rogue planet?
Yeah.
I don't know how it was over where you are, but like here it was totally overcast and you could barely see it anyways.
Yeah, it was cloudy here.
And people are like, it's because they're cloud seeding today while they test the Hadron Collider. And you're like, what?
Which, as we know, is in Ontario, Canada, which is why we need cloud cover here.
Conspiracy theorists are just people who are desperate to be right about something because they've been wrong about everything their entire lives. They've never amounted to anything and they have nothing to show for themselves. So it's like, no, the reason I lost my house in the stock market is because Obama is going to declare martial law and run for a third term. You're like, what? Dude, you live in Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah,
like,
that's...
Obama doesn't know about your day trading.
Dude, that's the one that always gets me being Canadian, is like just when I have to deal with the Canadian side of it and they just keep on referencing like American things all the time. You know, it's like, well, you know, Fauci did this and that. I'm like, dude, we're in Canada. We got our own fucking guy. Or lady, actually. It's like, why are you talking about him all the time? Why are you talking about these people? Like all the people they name drop. It's like, that's not where we live.
The funniest thing about flat earthers, conspiracy theorists, all these lunatics, is they tell you that scientists are lying to you and then tell you to use different imaginary science to prove their point. Where they're like, it's scientifically impossible to leave the Earth's atmosphere because of the radiation belt. And you're like, what's radiation? They're like, I don't know, something in my microwave probably. It's how I eat my Crave frozen meals.
The only thing that sucks is it used to be funnier, I think.
It used to be people with tinfoil on their head being like, the Russians are trying to steal our thoughts.
Yeah, and it used to be funnier before I knew like there were so many people who, form their worldview around some of these pretty like messed up ideas. Like, because when it's like lizard people planning to like steal all the gold, it's like more fun. But then there's like so many conspiracies now that are like not fun and people who take them way too seriously.
And that's why all of the videos I do are about dinosaurs, aliens, pyramids. There was one time where I was like,
do COVID. Like,
no, that's the thing. Yeah, I was going to do a numerology one.
Okay.
Because I just wanted to do a really preposterous way to get to the number 9/11.
Sure.
Just out of things that make no sense, like a blue whale is 40 tons. Just add 40 to something else. Just nonsense, because there's nonsense.
Yeah.
But my wife rightly was like, don't do 9/11 because people are just don't. And I was like, you're right. Because the actual conspiracy theorists, it's like a lot of stuff about Jews and 9/11 and Muslims. And it's like, I don't even want to do that as a joke. It's not worth it.
No.
Because people if they're taking it seriously, it might as well be about Atlantis.
Yes.
Or the moon landing, and not about like something that, I'm not giving any time to those people.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's the thing is what you'll find is if you dig deep into any conspiracy theory, it kind of all goes back to the Jews. Like that's the one that like, no matter what it is, you think it doesn't involve that. And then the more you read into it, like, oh, it's just another one that goes back to this shit. Like they all do. It's like, it's really sad.
Yeah. Viva Rock Vegas, executive producer, Steven Spielberg. Coincidence?
Nothing is a coincidence.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is nothing can be a coincidence. My favorite thing is like somehow NASA and the US government have convinced about 457,000 people to not snitch on the moon landing, but they haven't taken down flatearthtruth.wordpress.com.
Dude.
The truth is out there, .angelfire.net. First page Google results.
Yeah.
They haven't figured out how to take that down.
No.
We cannot cross the ice wall because of the Anunnaki. Guys, I'm risking my own safety here by talking about this. Dude, you have 3 Twitter followers, especially where it's like, NASA is the Hebrew word for deceive. As if people are sitting around going, we want to make sure we telegraph to a small subset of people what our actual intentions are. So when we name our child, who will one day be president, make sure that the letters of his name can be rearranged to form the coordinates of the pyramids of Giza. I posted a video about the eclipse and a guy commented like, you can't post stuff like this, man, because people are just going to take it seriously. Look, those people already stared directly at the eclipse and are going to drive into oncoming traffic next week. This problem will sort itself out.
Wait, did you ever get the opposite? Did you ever get idiots sending you messages, like not the ones going like, this is a fucking joke, but the people who take it for real and go like, but you're wrong, and send you some fucking like tome of links about fucking bullshit?
Yes. A guy sent me probably 85 messages back to back, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, about everything. It was mostly about dragons, about how dragons were or are real, and they're like, it was all like lizard people are dragons. He sent me, I mean, literally 80 messages, and I just replied with, I appreciate your commitment to the joke. And then he lost it. Yeah, no, I also get lots of people messaging me asking where they can listen to the podcast because they think it's real and they like it, which is somehow worse. Interesting ideas, really interesting. Where can I listen? You can't.
You could spin that off into a thing, but I mean, knowing how long it takes to, even fashion like a solid little 2-minute thing, I imagine it would be a complete headache to do it for an extended period of time.
That's the thing. People have said I should, even the people that are in on the joke have said you should do a full podcast. I'm like, no, I can't do an hour of that. It's not fun anymore then.
Yeah.
Part of it is it has to look like it's the middle of a conversation.
Yes.
It's the middle of a conversation that made no sense at all.
Well, look, I tell you what makes sense to me is listening to cool music. So here's a collaboration from Dimi, Kaye, Jacket, and Turbo Knight, brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters in the $25 club, like Tron Travolta, Alex Seligson, and Neverman. And this track is called Behelit, which I've just been informed is a little red egg-shaped thing from the manga Berserk, which allows its bearer to summon the God Hand. Okay, so let's listen. This is, sorry, I just learned about this. This is Behelit by Dimi, Kaye, Jacket, and Turbo Knight. And that was Behelit by Dimi, Kaye, Jacket, and Turbo Knight, brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters in the $25 club like A Star Apart, Restless Nights, and Honeybeard. And I'm back with comedian Mark Edwards. You can see his videos on Instagram and TikTok. And I know we've been talking a lot about this podcast character you do, but you also do a pretty good Fred Flintstone and Barney impression. And those ones are like Fred and Barney, like having serious real world conversations, but then they're still filled with like rock and stone puns. And I'm going to spoil one, but the one that ends with, "It's for the quartz to decide."
Oh, yeah.
It's like such a stupid fucking pun, and I lost it. Like, that one makes me laugh so hard. The fucking...
Yeah, that one's he's getting his, Wilma wants a divorce, and she's going to take the kids. And it's up for the quartz to decide.
the quartz. There's something just about, the pun is insane, but also like just the word quartz is also funny when said at the end of a thing. Just, some words just are funny.
Oh yeah. I just love, Fred Flintstone is probably one of my favorite voices. And I love the Honeymooners, which it's, if you don't know, it's the Flintstones is just the Honeymooners. Like it's completely Jackie Gleason and Art Carney impressions. But yeah, I just love that voice so much. I don't know if my Fred is all the way there. I think my Barney's slightly better, but...
I mean, they sound good to me.
Thanks. What's his face? Alan Reed was the original Fred for the first season, I think. And then it was, I think, Henry Corden all the way up through the 80s. But yeah, I just love that voice.
They made Flintstones in the 80s? I always thought that was like a fucking 1930s show. Like when I would watch.
No, it's from 1960.
Okay.
And I think there's only 4 or 5 seasons. Like it didn't run very long. There's only one season of the Jetsons, if you can believe it. No, I just mean there was other Flintstones. There was like the Flintstones, the kids one they did, and then they would do all like, the Flintstones Christmas Carol. And, the Laugh Olympics and stuff like that. Wacky races.
Yeah, that's what's so strange about now, just with the media landscape of their just being so much shit out, is because like when I was young, reruns of Flintstones was a viable thing to be on television when I was a kid.
Oh, totally.
Well, we might as well show these cartoons from the 60s.
We watched Quick Draw McGraw when I was a kid.
I used to love Warner Brothers cartoons, and... when I was young, I just had no context that they were as old as they were. Like, I knew that they were old, but it was only like later in life that I found out like just how old they were. Like, I always thought, these things were made in the 70s. But then when I watched like Bugs Bunny from the 70s, it all just seems wrong to me. Just like the animation and the voice and just the way, like, it seems so strange. And I'm so used to the old ones. But also, like, the animation was actually better.
Yeah.
Like, the animation of the old fucking Warner Brothers things is awesome.
Yeah, the golden years of Looney Tunes is like, 1935 to 1942. And you watch them now, and they're so irreverent that it's like they're modern. But the Hanna-Barbera ones are way more dated. Hanna-Barbera basically just figured out how to do animation cheaply for television. There was never animated series on TV until the Flintstones, basically. It was too expensive. It would take 9 months to a year to make one 6-minute Looney Tunes short. So that's why every Hanna-Barbera character wears a tie, so that they can animate, they can loop the body animation and just animate the head.
To be honest, as a kid, I was never huge into the Hanna-Barbera. There's something about that aesthetic. All those shows, and even the Filmation ones too. Like, I know some people have a fondness for those, like He-Man and shit, but like, for me, it was old Warner Brothers. And then it was some of the Disney cartoons when I was a kid. Like, I really liked Gummy Bears and shit.
Right.
And DuckTales. Mainly because they also had great songs as well. And Ghostbusters. But Ghostbusters, the animation is not great. But I love that cartoon.
Yeah. Hanna-Barbera is all cheap, and there's no... the writing is not there for being a half-hour show. Like, the writing in the Flintstones is not the same as watching, like, a sitcom from 1960. And then there's all the other stuff like Droopy the Dog and Augie Doggy and Wally Gator and Grape Ape. Like, they're just endless, and they're all kind of the same. Like, they all kind of do, they reuse backgrounds, they reuse animation. It's all just kind of like generic, like...
Grape Ape? What the fuck is Grape Ape? Hold on.
Oh, buddy, you don't know Grape Ape?
Oh, we're gonna find out.
He's a purple gorilla, and there's nothing else to it.
Let's see here. The Great Grape Ape.
Oh, Great Grape Ape, sorry. Nothing about him is very grape other than the fact that he's purple.
Yeah, he wears like a green little shirt with like a little green bow tie.
But there was just nothing to them. TV animation, like especially for kids, basically didn't become good until the early 90s. Like you said, the animation, the writing and stuff like He-Man and Captain Planet, it's garbage. No one would rewatch it now. But once you get to the 90s and you start to get Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network, and I mean, Cartoon Network is they're the ones who brought back the Hanna-Barbera stuff. They had that entire catalog, and then they started making their own stuff. But basically, until you get to like SpongeBob, nothing is really rewatchable. I mean, I've gone back to watch like Darkwing Duck and DuckTales, and it's like, yeah, there's not a lot going on here. Like, it's not really funny. It's just
no, those ones are. Although to be fair, the animation in Disney cartoons is better than like just pure animation wise than like, because some of my favorite cartoons from that era, like Transformers, which the animation in Transformers is insanely bad.
Yeah,
it's like maybe 5 frames a second. They constantly paint them the wrong colors. Every episode has at least 1 or 2 scenes where the wrong voice comes out of the Transformer whose mouth is moving. But
dude, did you ever watch Spider-Man from the 60s? They used to show it on Teletoon at like 9 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. And half of every episode is just recycled animation of him swinging through the city.
Yes. So, can I blow your mind right now?
Yeah, baby.
So season 1 is actually good. I own this on DVD.
Okay.
So what happened was this. Season 1 is actually well animated, features actual Spider-Man villains. I mean, when I say well animated, like for a 60s cartoon, it's surprising because in my memory, I was always like, wait, isn't that old Spider-Man cartoon garbage? Like we used to watch it and be like, what is this trash? But season 1, the colors are nice, it's fine. And then what happens is Ralph Bakshi takes over and he gets the job to do season 2 and 3 at a incredibly reduced budget.
Is that where they started tracing over Rocket Robin Hood?
Yes, that's when they start to do things like reusing the animation cell to the point of it deteriorating, extending the runtime of the episodes by having Spider-Man swing just for fucking 2 minutes straight, like with nothing happening. And you can also tell that Ralph Bakshi has no interest in Spider-Man because the villains during that era are also always like the green Martian men from Mars, the radiation Nazis or whatever. Like he's always fighting weird mole people and stuff instead of like Green Goblin and Doc Ock and shit. Like it's always these green people under the earth with like army outfits and stuff. I believe there's even 2 or 3 episodes where it's like it starts the same, like it's like the same initial like 7 minutes and then but like halfway through changes to something else, which I feel like they did in Warner Brothers a few times. I think there's a few where I swear to Christ there's one where Yosemite Sam goes to hell, but it ends differently. Like there's one where he goes to hell immediately and then has to keep coming back to Earth to fight Bugs Bunny, and then he keeps getting back to hell, and then there's one that just where one of the little adventures spins off into the whole thing. There's like a little trick they would do sometimes. But yeah, that's why Spider-Man, those last 2 seasons are all just him swinging in front of watercolor paintings. And once you get to season 3, the animation cell is deteriorated to the point where like you can start to see through Spider-Man.
You just see Ralph Bakshi behind it.
The idea that he's behind the animation, which would put him under the desk.
Under the freaking multiplane. Yeah, I love that those old cartoons like Rocket Robin Hood, and they only have 3 voices. Mm-hmm. Like there's only 3 voices in those shows. There's like the hero voice, which is like, come on, let's go. Come on, this way. Now you stop there.
Yeah.
That's every hero. And then there's every bad guy, which is just vaguely German or Russian. Try again, Rocket Robin Hood.
Yes. It's a tricky thing to mimic because you have to also get the microphone right, because there's another thing too. It's like the whole cadence of the sound itself, because there's the impression and then there's the I wonder, actually that would be a good thing to chart, is like when did like the actual dialogue of cartoons start to sound better as well, because that's another thing about the Hanna-Barbera ones. They feel, and the Filmation as well, like He-Man and shit, they almost feel older than they are.
Yeah,
because they were still stuck in the era of, I guess like in Spider-Man, in that time period where even though they're making cartoons, they're almost voice acting as if it's a radio play.
Yeah, there's huge pauses and then they like slow zoom on a cell where they don't have to animate it.
Yeah.
So it'll be like, stop, you there. And then it kind of like zooms in and it's like, how would you like to try this on for size? And then like a slow throw of like a grenade. Like the pacing is so bad.
Yes, that is a big one.
It's not until you get to like Animaniacs, basically, where it's like, oh, this is like action. This is a show with musical numbers and parodies and pop culture references and history, and they just do so much in the 90s with animation.
It's also once you understand the medium you're working with, because like I think with those old ones, animation, I don't know if animation was like new to the people making it for TV or whatever, but it's like the voice acting was still, when I say it was like a radio play, it's like also they're also saying more than they need to say. Like they're explaining the scenes that they're in. Like Spider-Man will like sort of explain what's in the room and like what he's going to do.
Right.
As opposed to like when you know you're dealing with a visual medium, it's like, well, Spider-Man doesn't have to say, I'm going to web up that chandelier and pull it down on that guy's head. Like, because you're going to just see him do it.
That's a good point. Because yeah, in all those old shows, it's like, once I activate the laser,
I love this guy.
The river will dry up and you will not be able... It's like, just do it. Mm-hmm. Actually, that's the other reason I love Fred Flintstone, is because Alan Reed, who's the original voice actor, used his normal voice. That was just his speaking voice, which was like basically had never been done before. Nobody just did their voice. Everybody did like cartoony. That's what cartoons sound like. Cartoons are, oh, let's go, everybody. And he was like, I'm just going to do my voice. And they're like, I don't know, buddy.
I've never actually watched an interview with, Lorenzo Music.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that's what he sounds like because that's the voice he did for every character he played.
It's actually not quite that. Like, it's funny, yeah. He does the same voice for Garfield and Venkman, but it's not quite that droll. Like, he puts it on, he hams it up a little bit. It's kind of like Patrick Warburton. He does one voice in everything, but his speaking voice is not quite that broad. Everyone's kind of got like the animation version of their speaking voice,
Yeah, and speaking of Lorenzo Music, let's listen to some music. So I got one here from Dualarity, and I was sort of on the fence on this one at first, just because the lyrics are a little on the nose, but the chorus is just so catchy, so I'm gonna play it. It's brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters in the $25 club like Ken Giroux, and then we got Forged in Neon with the $20.49, and then there's Joshua Winter. You're cool, and I hope you like this song from Dualarity. This is 1990 Again. And that was 1990 again by Dualarity, brought to you by my awesome patrons. Toots with the 1986, and in the 1985 club, we got Sarah Buchelman and Rachel Buchelman. And I'm here right now with comedian and voice actor Mark Edwards, right? Because you said you did some voice acting, right?
Yeah, that's primarily what I've done.
Do you do things from home, or do you gotta go to a place?
Yeah, it's always in a studio in Toronto.
Is it like the same one?
Yeah, there's only like 2 or 3, really.
So do they know you there?
What?
Is this a strange line of questioning?
It is. Well, when you get there, like if you're already doing a show, like if it's not an audition, it's the same group of people. It'll be like the showrunner, the voice director, the recording engineer, and maybe a script coordinator. But yeah, you're always kind of with the same people doing the same show.
Is there anything you've done that I would know? Is this like Canadian stuff, or do they do like voice things for all over the place?
Yeah, there wouldn't be like an American show that's solely done here. It'd be more like it's a co-production. Like I did Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, the animated series. So like that's obviously owned by Sony because they made the movies. But it was all done here. Like it was animated in Vancouver. We did the writing here and we did the voice stuff here. But then it aired on Cartoon Network in the US and YTV here.
What do you find the stuff that you do mostly? Like, do you play like specific characters, or are you the kind of guy that will do like background people or like a bunch of voices? Like, what's your skill set?
I haven't done animation recently because everything kind of went wonky through the pandemic, but most of the characters I did were young characters for whatever reason. I basically don't ever play adults unless it's like a background character, 2 lines here. But all the main roles I've played are always like young characters. Like in the first show I ever did was called Rocket Monkeys, and so I was playing, I mean, I guess it's kind of ageless because they're animals, but I was playing a very immature character, which was like I'm not gonna burn your ears with the voice, but very like high pitched raspy voice. And then in Cloudy I played Flint, which was Bill Hader in the movies, but he's supposed to be in high school, so it was like a little bit younger, which it was pretty much my normal voice, but like a little bit higher like this.
Right.
That's probably the closest I've ever done to my own voice. But I also played his pet monkey, Steve, which was Neil Patrick Harris in the movie, which for no reason though, because they pitched his voice up.
Right.
So instead of pitching my voice up, I just did it myself.
A lot of characters they play kind of are like up there, kind of up in this register.
But you do have like, you know, because I've seen some of the videos you post where you'll speak with like the deep voice, and it feels like you can pull that one off as well.
Yeah, I've never really had a recurring character with that kind of voice for whatever reason.
Because I like that one you did about the Settlers of Catan. I don't even know that game, and I still found that video funny. So there you go.
You don't know Settlers, bro. Well, I mean, those other videos I did for the with your buddy Sunglasses Kid, I didn't do them with him. I did them to him, I suppose. But yeah, that was me trying to have a cool guy voice. I just don't have a nice voice. Like I don't have a nice speaking voice. I don't have a low voice or anything like that. So it's always easier for me to go high, I guess.
Do you train? Do you do exercises and drink lemon water and honey and shit?
No, although, okay, I'll do the Rocket Monkeys voice for you, and then you can see what it would be like to do that for 3 hours. I gotta turn my mic down.
That character sounded like this, where it's like really raspy and high.
And doing that for 3 hours, by the end, it's like...
The voice was more like this by the end. And then by the end, I'm like, all right, guys.
I'm done. I gotta go home. No, I don't train. No, I've probably destroyed my vocal cords doing that nonsense. But the best thing is practicing impressions, and then when you do them poorly, that's just a new voice you can do now. Because you did it wrong.
How does that work in the case of like, because if you're really like hurting your throat, are you allowed to literally just call an end to the session? Like, do people get mad at you, or are you just like, dude, I literally can't do this voice anymore. I gotta go.
Oh, it never got that bad. But when we would do a recording session, we would be doing 2 shows, which makes up 1 episode, right? Like, so we would be doing 2 scripts, which would take about an hour and a half each one. But one time we had to do 4 scripts. And by the last one, I was like, guys, I don't think we have to take a break because like I can't. The character doesn't even sound like himself anymore. So we just stopped for like an hour and just like I just drank a bunch of water and ate Tic Tacs to try to like lubricate my esophagus. But no, usually it's not that bad. That voice was just so. That was my first job, and like I went way too aggressive on the voice with like that crazy whatever. I just the character was clearly like younger than the other one. Like it's 2 characters, and the other one was played by a comedian named Sean Cullen, and he was doing a very like low, come on, like wannabe hero character. And I was like, I'd already heard that. I'd heard his whatever because he was cast first. I'd heard his recording session. So for contrast, it has to be like way different. And I mean, there's a lot of voices that I really like that I was trying to sort of be in the same ballpark. What's, like Animaniacs.
Hello, nurse.
Or whatever. Like it's like that kind of high helium voice and like whatever. I just wanted to do something really cartoony. But in hindsight, I probably should have kept it closer to my voice because it was really pinching my throat.
No, that makes sense. Actually, I had a question. I'm changing topics here, and I apologize to my international listeners. I'm going to be mentioning some small Canadian cities, but I saw you posted that you were doing a comedy night in Guelph or something. Like, what the hell was that about?
The Guelph Arts Council runs a place called the Guelph Art Bar, which I think was closed all through COVID. And before that, they had done like these small, concerts or like poetry readings, stuff like that. And they wanted to do a comedy show. And I know a comedian named Sarah Boston who lives in Guelph. And so she went to talk to them. And then we decided to do a monthly show there together. It's called Women's Monthly. And basically we're just trying to do a show that's actually enjoyable for the females in the audience because my goodness.
Ooh, I'm out. I'm out.
Good.
Good.
This is the thing. Any male comedian who scoffs at the idea, good. You're not the person we want performing there.
Sure.
Yeah. And any guy who goes like, what is this crap? We don't want you there either. It's not just for women. I mean, I'm the only guy performing at the first one. I mean, Sarah performs regularly at Yuck Yucks downtown, and she's usually the only woman on the show out of like 10. And it's just like, whatever. I won't even say the kind of jokes people tell. And it's like, is this really? That's what we're going to talk about? It's just gross. So it's not like it's a G-rated or like we're not censoring it, but it's just like don't tell rape jokes. Maybe like it's just whatever. I'm a clean comedian. All my stuff is dumb and silly, and her stuff is all smart. So we're like, we can do better than just like gross guys getting up being like the cancel culture. Am I right? Free speech. No one cares, bro.
But that stuff's really, really funny though.
Which stuff?
The cancel culture stuff. It's really funny stuff.
Yes.
Like really good jokes.
Yes. Guys who work washing dishes and have 32 Instagram followers are afraid of being canceled. Yeah.
So many people complain about this, things you can't say, and then they'll talk about all these woke comedians that just get up and just get claps. And then those guys get on stage and just go, you can't say this anymore, and for claps. I'm like, that's not a joke. There's no joke in just saying like, here's some racist shit that I want to say but can't. Then like people clap like, fucking Trudeau's a Nazi or whatever, and just like, what does this, nothing.
The other thing that's dumb about it is none of it's even true. I've never seen a woke comedian, whatever woke even means to you. That's the other thing. Please define that for me, sir. I've had people say to me like, oh man, must be hard doing stand-up, can't say anything. I was like, what do you mean? Like, can't say anything anymore, get canceled. What do you mean though? What can't I say? First of all, when's the last time you've been to a comedy club? Oh, never. Yeah. Oh, you just watch Tim Allen shows on Disney Plus.
Or mostly just people complaining about what you like. I feel like it's just a subgenre of hacky nonsense where it's just the genre of people complaining about the things you can't say anymore, while usually simultaneously saying those things, and not facing any repercussions.
Well, I had a conversation with a guy recently. He basically said that same thing about like, oh, you can't really say anything anymore. I was like, when's the last time you went to a comedy show? And he's like, oh, I don't know. Okay. He's like, all I'm saying is like, I don't like the idea that if you say something that a random stranger in the audience could just be like, I don't like that, and ruin your career. I said, name one person who's ever been, quote, canceled and has no career because of something they said. And he couldn't name a single person. I said, I'll do you one better. I'll name people that you're going to find on Google tonight that you think have been canceled, and I'll tell you why they're not. Roseanne Barr. He goes, I don't know who that is. I said, she's just one of the most successful female comedians that had one of the biggest sitcoms of the 80s, but that's okay. But you're an expert on comedy. I understand. So she basically tweeted something about a black woman comparing her to Planet of the Apes. And then Disney said, oh, yeah, no, we're going to cancel the revival of your ABC sitcom. And now she performs to sold out multi-thousand people shows and goes on Fox News and talks about it. So has she been canceled? He goes, well, her show got canceled. I said, yeah, her show that you didn't know existed. I said, she's performing for thousands of people every night. Has she been canceled? No. This is my point. So the idea of a Toronto comedian being like, you freaking can't say, dude, yeah, freaking Winnipeg Comedy Festival, you can't say anything. What do you mean? You can't? I've seen you say everything. So what are you talking about? You can't be canceled because you can be held accountable for actual actions, but it's like, if you don't get to perform at one place because you made a horribly racist joke, that's not being canceled. That's the person who runs that place saying, I don't want you to perform here anymore. You might be entitled to free speech, but you're not entitled to a platform.
It all gets conflated with everything's lumped under cancel culture, but then it'll also apply to people who there have been allegations of 8 ladies saying that this guy tried to fucking grab their boobs or whatever, and they'll be like, oh, fucking cancel culture, and no, you're accused of assault. What are you doing?
Yeah, because it's so good for women. It's so good for women to get their names in the news accusing people of assault. Yeah, that's what they love to do. Women sit around just dreaming of how they can make their name public for being assaulted and abused in the past. It's so fun. They'll just make it up. If you like paintball, you should try falsely accusing someone of sexual harassment. Just as much thrill.
Well, look, I tell you what else is thrilling is listening to some tunes. So, although I'm not sure the next artist will appreciate that I'm segueing to them after a bit about sexual assault. But hey, man, this is Beyond Synth. It's raw, it's edgy. I'll probably edit all that out anyways, so we'll see. Look, I got a track here from Benjio. I'm hoping that's how you say that, Benjio. Maybe it's Benjio. No, it's probably Benjio. And it's brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters like Gene Creamer Private Eye, Hampus ML, and Albion Algorithm. And I hope you like songs by Benjio because that's what you're about to get. This is Benjio with the track Waverider. And that was Benjio with the track Waverider. And that, of course, was brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters like Rower and Gary Heather. And we'll never forget the immortal Chrysalia Lane. And we're back here with Mark Edwards, comedian, TikToker, voice actor, etc. And we're talking about comedy and stuff. And, you know, like for me personally, though, like what I find funny is like, I like to be surprised.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's what makes me laugh. Like not always that, you saying what we're all thinking. It's like, I like when a punchline comes out of nowhere, but then the setup like the mathematics of it works. Like, oh, they did set this up, but I didn't see that punchline. And that's what makes me laugh. And what doesn't make me laugh is people saying the same shit and just jokes I've heard or like setups and things that are traditional or whatever. And the implication of all this cancel culture stuff is always, it's the same crew. It's like all these like kind of bro podcast types that just go like, the real point of comedy is, they're like the modern day philosophers. I'm like, what the fuck does that even, that's stupid. I thought the point was like tell jokes and be funny, but I guess like you gotta pontificate on like stupid issues and like complain about trans people or whatever, because that's what a comedian does. And it's just like, what about trying to make an audience laugh? Isn't that mission one?
The only point I could say in the opposite direction is there are some people who confuse a joke about a difficult topic for being a joke at the expense of said topic.
Yes.
That's the only time where I'm like, no, you can't just say you can't tell a joke about that, because there's a lot of human beings in the world and all of them have experienced many different things. And so you can't say no comedian can ever tell a joke about, I don't want to pick a topic because I'm just, because I don't have any of that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have any complicated emotional baggage or terrible childhood experiences or anything like that. So I wouldn't talk about it anyways. But we also can't just say like, no, you shouldn't make a joke about that. It's like, well, you shouldn't make that joke about it because that one was gross and mean.
I guess that's the issue, is this even the way that we're dancing on this conversation as well. It's like, whenever you hear these conversations being had, there's very little in the way of actual, like you said, when you're asking that guy like the specific questions, it's like, what exactly are you actually talking about? Like, give me a specific example so that we can then discuss this specific example. It's always this sort of vague thing of just like, you can't do this anymore. And
anytime someone brings up that kind of stuff in a conversation, it kind of comes out of nowhere, where it's like, say it's 4 white guys standing around and one guy has to go, frickin', you can't say anything because residential schools. And you're like, what? What are you trying to do? Like, I don't understand. We're talking about Settlers of Catan and the Flintstones, and you're just bringing up, like, as if we're just going to agree with you. Like, what's the point of just trying to start fires? Especially when it has nothing to do with you. You have no dog in this fight. Like, it has nothing to do with you.
Because even for me, like, I get worked up about really dumb things, but it's really hard for me to conjure up any sort of emotional anything for a topic that I just have no stake in. There's just certain topics that just like, I don't care. And I will say that in my life, for all the people who talk about the things you get in trouble for saying, those are the conversations that always start against my will. Just like you said, like, I'll just be like, I've got relatives and friends who say things like this, and I never invoke it. If I know that it's the kind of person that's going to say a thing like that, I will purposefully make the conversation not go anywhere near that stuff. And then there'll still just be like a brief lull and then just launch into it, whatever. They start talking about trans things or whatever. I'm like, dude, do you even know any? Like, what is this? Like, I don't even know what this is. Like, we live in a small town where there's none. Like, this topic literally doesn't touch your life in any way. Like, in any way. And yet somehow we're talking about it and wasting time. Like, I would much rather talk about movies and shit. That's what I talk about most of the time. Movies and games, at least then. But then nowadays, then all the movies are woke. So then you can't really avoid you can't avoid it. It's just like,
yeah, does this need to be said? Does this need to be said by you? And does this need to be said by you right now? That's the 3 questions.
And the answer is no.
The answer is pretty much always no to all those things. I'm just not looking for arguments or fights. And look, at the end of the day, the end of the show, my job is to make people who have paid $20 to $30 laugh. If you're going to get up and try to do material about sexual assault, it better be so funny and insightful that it's not making someone who's been abused in the audience think about that instead of laughing. Mm-hmm. The second you take them out of the show, you've failed as far as I'm concerned. And people, like, I've heard people say like half the room should be laughing and half the room should be offended. It's like, no, actually, your goal should be to make everybody laugh. I also don't get this whole response of just like, well, too bad. It's like, we're saying that you hurt someone's feelings.
Yeah.
Too bad. That's your response? Like, I don't get it. Like, if you do a 9/11 joke and like 35 people are like, that was messed up, man, at least consider it. Oh, is that really the reaction I want? 12 minutes into my 20-minute set is a lot of the audience like being upset. Good point. But if your response is like, frick, man, come on, it was 23 years ago. Like, okay. But again, you're doing your job poorly. Like, I don't get that.
It's a narcissism though, right? Isn't that? Because I mean, I just think about how I respond to any criticism, and I'm super sensitive to it, which is why I'm like, maybe lucky that I have a very small audience, because like even the negative ones I do get, I really sit there and fucking ponder it. Like when someone says something or just like, oh, you shouldn't have said this or whatever, it makes me really like, oh shit, did I make that person mad? Like I really don't like upsetting people. Like it really hits me hard if someone says I've upset them. Usually it bugs me because it's never my intention. Like I don't ever go around going like, now I'm going to fucking make this person feel like shit. So when I say something that makes someone upset with me, it really makes me just fucking shut down and question my whole worldview, because I'm like, oh fuck, like what kind of energy am I putting out? Like am I not projecting what I think I'm projecting, you know? Because in my head I'm just like, hey, you're fucking, bouncy silly guy, whatever. And if someone's just like, hey man, that sucked, it's just like, oh shit, fucking, have I been wrong all these years, And I really think. And so I feel like you got to be like a super narcissist, just be able to push all past that and just be like, no, you're wrong. Like just always think that about in every situation.
Yeah. People judge themselves based on their intentions, and they judge other people based on their actions. So people say like, dude, why did you say that? That was rude. It's like, whoa, come on, I wasn't rude. I was just making a joke. It's like, doesn't matter, because they thought it was rude. So but if someone said that to you, you'd be like, wow, man, not cool, because your intentions somehow trump their reaction. Like, I don't know. I don't try to make people upset, I guess is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it just seems, yeah, like you're right. Like they want to be upset because right now there's so much of everything. You don't have to engage with any of the media that's not like for you. This is a lesson I had to learn though, because I used to have a friend who would send me like super woke like video game articles that would, like articles like, Super Mario Brother promotes toxic masculinity and shit.
Right.
And when those things first came on the scene, I would be annoyed by those articles. They would annoy me. Like I'd be like, what the fuck kind of stupid opinion is this? And then all of a sudden I realized like partway through, like, wait a second, why am I engaging with this? Like Super Mario is just a fun game I like to play. This person is entitled their opinion. I don't need to engage with their blog. They can do whatever they like. I don't need to purposely put myself in that position just to be upset.
Right.
And the same for all those people who like are upset at like whatever they perceive as woke comedy or woke shows on Netflix or whatever. It's sort of like, well, don't watch those ones.
I don't understand the adult men who are angry about the Black Little Mermaid when I'm like, you weren't going to see it. Even if she was a white redhead, you were never going to watch it.
Dude, it's Snow White as well. It's the same thing. And like, I feel, again, it's like I take a weird stance on this because I was never a Disney, like I watched those cartoons on TV, but I was never a Disney movie kid. To me, it was always like, these are movies for girls and they're musicals and I don't like musicals and whatever. It just wasn't for me.
And I don't like girls.
Yeah.
That's gross, dude. Dude, that's freaking gross, dude. They kiss guys.
Yeah,
no
I know,
thanks.
man. It's weird. And but the point is, I never liked those movies. I still don't. I just don't like musicals. It's not my scene.
Yeah.
But when I see the people complaining about Little Mermaid, it's just like, yeah, okay, well, you wouldn't watch this. And then like fucking Snow White? Dude, like they're going off on Snow White and hating on this actress and stuff, because I watch a lot of that shit on YouTube. Like these stupid people are always bitching about everything's woke all the time. And to see a video that's like an 8-panel video of 8 guys, adult men, sitting there complaining like about the feminist agenda of Barbie, and like I just think like, imagine you could teleport your mind to your 11-year-old self as a boy and say, one day you're going to be a fucking 47-year-old man and you're going to get together with 8 other 47-year-old men from all over the world and complain about the fucking Barbie movie. Like, I don't know what I would...
The irony, that is the gayest thing I can imagine.
No, I know! That's what I don't... Like, I just sit there like...
Guys, you didn't respond to my text. We're all jumping on our webcams in 10 minutes to complain about Barbie. Guys, you're gay.
All I could do, if I was one of the squares in this panel, every sentence would just be like, we're talking about the Barbie movie, right? And like they would say all their thing and it would just come back to me and it's, we're talking about the Barbie movie, right? Like what else is there to say?
There's 2 things about the Snow White thing. One, I don't know why people think that new media somehow deletes and undoes the stuff of the past. It's like, you can stop at Return of the Jedi. you can just stop.
Yes, and you should.
There's only 3 Star Wars movies as far as you know. And then the other thing is, especially in the case of like this new Snow White or honestly that Little Mermaid movie. I mean, I didn't see it, but it's like, they're gonna be bad. We know that. We know they're gonna be bad, but not for the reasons that you're saying. They're bad because they are crappy remakes with terrible CGI, with no practical sets, with the same music done slightly worse without Broadway singers. They're gonna be bad anyways. All you have to do is sit there and watch as they don't make their money back, and that's it. But instead, you're just fueling the endless news cycle of like, why did nobody support the female Ghostbusters movie? It's like, because it was a boring remake. That's why. That's literally why.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the fact that they're all 4 hilarious, talented female comedians. So you just get on there and talk about it endlessly. And it's like, and Barbie's even better because it's like, guys, this movie made $2 billion. Boo-hoo. Sorry, it made more than John Wick. Are you going to be okay?
Like, what you just said is like, it's spot on. I've been thinking about doing like a video essay on this because like the struggle I have is that for the most part when I watch like the sort of like the anti-woke people, it's like I agree in that I also don't like the things they're complaining about, but not for the reasons why. You know, like I'm watching, I'm just like, okay, well, I didn't like that show either, and I didn't like this movie either, but I also am like, I don't know if the reason is women.
No.
I'm not prepared to lay my chips down on because there was a black guy in it is the reason why this thing. But the argument they make, you know, like obviously if you say it's racist and it's like, you're just one of those people, fucking everything's racist, isn't it? But then it's like, if you watch a movie trailer and have no context for the film you're watching, right? So all you have to go on is what the people look like in the movie. You don't know what the story is, you don't know what characters they're playing, and your first reaction is like, well, it's woke. Like, okay, so you can't say it's because of the writing, you can't say it's because of the story or whatever. All you can say is because I saw too many black faces. So what else is that?
And again, tell me what woke means in that situation. Like when people say, you know, when there's a Facebook post from like Disney Plus and it's like some show and it's got a black person on the poster, it's like probably woke. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Also, again, if it's not good, it'll fail. You don't have to worry about it. It's just going to fail if it's bad. You don't have to. You're going to be okay.
Yeah, and I tell you why we're going to be okay, because we got the healing power of cool music. And I've got some music right here from Color Theory and My Manifesto, and it's brought to you by my lovely Patreon supporters like Skylane Drive, Brian Schmryan, Foxner and Katner, and Non Solo Inglés. And here is Without a Doubt by Color Theory and My Manifesto.
Like a curse, I know you wanna
And that was Color Theory and my Manifesto with Without a Doubt. And I am without a doubt here with comedian, voice actor Mark Edwards. What are we talking about? We're talking about anti-woke movie reviewers and Barbie and, oh yeah, because that's right, because Barbie, one of my favorite stupid online arguments. I would see people saying like, oh, the filmmakers failed because Ken was the best part of the movie, right? And he was so funny, which showed that the filmmakers, because of his point of view in the movie, just like, see, that shows that fucking feminism's wrong or whatever. To suggest that the filmmakers didn't know what they were doing when they hired super charming and handsome actor Ryan Gosling and gave him funny dialogue. Like, I love the idea that someone can watch that go, well, Ken was hilarious, he was the best part, and that's why they failed. I'm like, so you are technically complimenting the director because they made a thing that was entertaining, but because you agree with the villain? Like, could you imagine, like the Dark Knight movie and coming out of the theater and going, well, Christopher Nolan totally failed, man, because all these fucking kids are just quoting Joker. And, like, he's the bad guy. Like, he's the fucking bad guy, but everyone's, like, just talking about how great the Joker was, so I guess this movie sucks because everyone liked the Joker. Like, it's such a insane...
Yeah, they moved the goalpost where it's like, the movie was terrible, but the funniest part was Ryan Gosling. It's like, wait, hold on, did you like it or not? No, the movie's terrible, but the only good part is Ryan Gosling, so obviously they failed. Bad feminists.
Yeah, I can't even really understand what kind of movies people want. Like, they don't want characters to be challenged. Like, I'm trying to wrap my head around it as well. It's sort of like, so if the character is a dude and the main character is a man, at no point in the film can he be challenged, or else that's, especially by a female character or whatever, right? So if a lady comes up and goes like, I don't think you're a good boss, then they'll highlight this as being like, see, there we go. So they have to, but then if they're not challenged, that also fails the hero's journey, right? Because they have to fail to rise up or whatever, and whatever, like there's just...
here's two examples that are polar opposites, and I think both are silly. One is in the She-Hulk show. Tatiana Maslany's character is talking to Mark Ruffalo, and whatever he's talking about, like either getting angry or holding it back, whatever it is, they're having that conversation. And she's like, I do this more than you. She's like, I'm better at it because I'm a woman, because I have to hold back my anger every time a guy corrects me on this. I have to hold back my anger every time a guy says that to me at work. I have to hold back my anger every time a guy comes up behind me on the street at night, like, or whatever. She's saying that kind of stuff. And so there's people who are being like, oh, this is such woke nonsense, bro. Like, oh, it's so much harder to be a girl. And like, no, it's that character. Mm-hmm. That's just her. She's not speaking for all women, but also she's speaking for a lot of women. But also, this is just a story. And in this story, that character is having that reaction. And then the other extreme is, and these are very specific Marvel examples, but the other extreme is in, I think it's Age of Ultron. There's like a little thing about Scarlett Johansson's character, Black Widow, like how they sterilized her when she was like being trained at the spy school or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, oh, like they reduced her character down to just boo-hoo, like I can never be a mom. And I'm like, that is a perfectly valid story point, that a character is devastated that she's given up her ability to create life and instead has traded it for taking lives. I'm like, that's just interesting. What, like, we can't have one character?
Yeah.
Like, I know there's not enough like women in the Marvel movies to begin with, at least with good parts, and I don't mean it that way.
Well done.
But it's like, we can't have this character be, affected by that reality. It's like, it's reductive. It's like, okay, go to the grocery store right now and go up to every woman and talk to her. And I would venture a guess that a lot of them have or want children. Is that not reasonable? And same for guys, but they maybe just don't talk about it the same way. It's just silly to be like, oh, it's crazy, man. They reduced her character to like, oh, boo-hoo, I can't have a baby. And then over here, it's like, oh, freaking, oh yeah, it's so hard to be a woman. It's like, what? Which is it? Like,
also,
both sides, I find, it's a vocal minority of just people who have to be upset about. They're more upset about a Spider-Man movie than they are about the war in Ukraine.
Yes.
And I just have no patience for it.
Also, too, a lot of these products are fluff. So, like, I watch Marvel things, and yeah, like, the quality isn't the greatest, but then historically, the quality was never perfect anyways. You know what I mean? It's like they got off running with Iron Man, which was a solid movie that was also kind of a surprise because it was like, who the fuck gives a shit about Iron Man? And really it was like, just because Robert Downey Jr. was charming in the role, the effects were good. It was a kind of a surprise that came out of nowhere and was like, this movie's actually like pretty good. But then it was followed by about like 4 or 5 mediocre films until like the Avengers movie, which was fun, like when they all got together. But there's always like a bunch in between that were like fine. And then there'd be like one that was really good.
But there's also on top of the whatever the specific media is you're talking about, just look at the reality of who is going to a movie. The people that go to movies aren't people with frickin' blogs and going on medium.com and writing big rants about representation on or lack thereof or whatever. It's my mom going to see Sahara with Matthew McConaughey because it's a movie that's in the theater right now. Yeah. That's it. And it's not going to change her life.
Yeah.
But that's it. And that's the average. The average person going to a movie is a person who is going to a movie. And that's it. And they don't even think about it. Like they don't even leave the movie and talk about it. Me and my friends, we love to talk about stuff. Like we can talk for, like you and I right here, we can talk for 2 hours just about Men in Black or anything. We could talk about Shrek for 2 hours.
Well,
but most people go to a movie and they go, that is something I saw with my eyes and heard with my ears. Now to go home and watch The Office for the 3rd time. That's it.
Yes.
So for the TikTokers and the bloggers and the people that get on there and are like, so what happened though? Why didn't people go see Ocean's 8? It's like, because they didn't. End of story. They had other stuff to do. Baseball was on. I don't know. Take your pick. This isn't an article. This isn't something to talk about. It just doesn't matter.
It is a frustrating thing because there's so many. Yeah, it is mostly just kind of people who are unaware of these silly conversations that are taking place at the sides. And I mean, there is a silliness on different spectrums, and so I find myself I'm just like kind of trying to be as reasonable as possible because I'm a big like Doctor Who fan.
Nice.
Because I'm a nerd, but that's like more the classic show. I just liked it was a straightforward adventure show, and the new one's a lot more like relationship shit and stuff. Whatever.
Yeah.
Recently there was a thing that I found interesting, but it's like on the reverse side of like is this where they're trying to overcorrect certain stereotypes or whatever. And so there's this idea that there's this villain in Doctor Who who's kind of half robot, and he's got like a chair that's like kind of like a wheelchair, and so they changed him for the new show to not have a wheelchair anymore because of the stigma associated with villains with disabilities or scars or whatever, right? Which is a real thing. I love James Bond, and pretty much I think every bad guy's got something wrong with him. A scar or a fucking fake hand or a fake head or whatever. And so it's one of those things where when I see that, I'm like, okay, I understand the intention here and I get that the intention is good, but it is also weird from like a creative point of view if now every time you want to say like, okay, like I want a nice diverse cast, I want lots of different types of people, and then it also comes with like this baggage of rules, where you're like, all right, like I want the bad guy, like, but this person can't be the bad guy because that would enhance this stereotype, and this person can't be the bad guy because of this and that. And it's a really like unique and niche problem to have because not everybody is making movies or whatever.
You know what's funny? Yeah. What you just said about like James Bond villains having scars or like a fake hand. It has never crossed my mind in my entire life that villains have disabilities. Like that's never.
Well,
and I'm not saying that's not someone else's reaction. I'm just saying now that you say that, I'm like, I guess I just always saw it as like, oh, well, this is a bad person who makes bad choices and they've either injured themselves in an attempt to injure someone else.
Sure.
Like, it's just never crossed my mind that's like, that you're villainizing a person with a disability.
I know.
Like, people say that every Disney villain is gay, where it's like, oh, like, Jafar and Scar are very like, they're kind of like, they look fancy and slow.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, I have never looked at those characters and thought, that's what a gay guy sounds like. So if that's your reaction, maybe that's a problem with you.
Well,
because I was never like, yeah, Scar, clearly a big gay guy. Yeah, definitely a gay lion. Like,
yes.
Who's thinking that? I don't get that at all.
In this particular case, I do think that's a silly overcorrection because I'm on the same page with you. Is sort of like, I get it. Like, and I'm sure maybe if we polled the world of people with scars on their faces, that maybe they're upset by the fact that villains have scars or whatever. Like, it's possible, you know? But I never read it that way. And I never read into a character's sexuality unless it's implicitly stated. Because just because you speak with an effeminate voice doesn't mean you're gay, right? Like, it doesn't, like, there's all these things that, like, you can put all these things in to read a certain way, but unless the character explicitly says it, then there's no reason to assume it. Especially if it also has nothing to do with the story or anything. Not that it has to have anything to do with the story, but like, you know. And so whenever people would say those things about the Disney characters, I never really understood it. But then I never really watched them. So like,
Okay.
Lion King was the only one was like I could tolerate because I'm like, oh, it's got lions in it, you know.
Okay, this one might be a bit touchy, but it's like the goblins that run the bank in the Harry Potter movies. People are like, those are Jews. I'm like, whoa, that never crossed my mind, buddy.
Yeah.
If you look at hideous goblins and think, oh, clearly they made those look like Jews. They must be racist.
Yeah.
I'm like, have you ever seen a goblin?
Well, I haven't seen a goblin, but I have played cool music, and I'm going to do that right now with this song from Youth 83. It's brought to you by my awesome patrons like Glenn Main, Jonathan Harden, Krizak Hatterack, and Dr. Churlish. And this is Youth 83 with Solo. And that was Youth 83 with Solo. Brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters like John Masari, Andrew Bennon, Run the Skyway, and Shadow Shift. Oh, and speaking of John Masari, the Killer Clowns from Outer Space video game is out now, and he did the music for that as well, so that's pretty cool. I should probably play that. Anyway, I'm here right now with Mark Edwards, funny man on the internet. We're talking about people reading too deeply into movies so they can complain about things being racist and whatnot, and I don't know what that says about me, but I never really look for subtext. Like, unless it's obvious, like the only time in history that I ever truly felt the undertone that was either intentional or not was even as a young kid. I knew Top Gun was gay, like a gay movie. I didn't have to be told that. And I remember having friends who were just like, they like Top Gun. I was always just like, and not that there's, again, I don't want to Seinfeld, I don't know if there's anything wrong with that, but like, it just was kind of like, I just got the vibe that this movie's kind of gay. Like, just sweaty dudes in their shorts, like patting each other and all this stuff. So then I don't need to see a fucking, Quentin Tarantino's rant about it. But then when I did, it's sort of like, oh, he even points out other things too. And like the lady wears like his costume and stuff and blah, blah, blah. But that's like the only time really in history that I got that. I mean, there's even movies that have like super like homosexual undertones that like I never picked up on. I'm just like, oh, they're just buddies. What are you talking about? Like I'm young, I don't get it. Because like unless there's some explicit scene where they're fucking, there can be just two guys that are just like being real close and palling around with each other, and I won't pick up on it.
I roll my eyes whenever I see a headline that's like, I'm making this up, but it's like, are we going to talk about how Darth Vader has autism? Like, what? No, we are not going to talk about a thought that you are the only person in history to ever have. Are we going to talk about how the Great Gazoo in Viva Rock Vegas is clearly trans? And you're like, what in the world?
We have to. My favorite is titles of articles that are someone's very, very specific opinion, but it's somehow the title, just like, Tom Cruise just showed his stomach and I'm here for it. Like,
yeah, no.
Who are you? Like, what is this? Why is this the title of the article? Like, I don't know what this is. There's so many of those I read where it's someone, it always ends with, and I'm here for it. I don't know what that means or like what it is.
Or when it's a definitive statement, again, that no one has ever. I also like when it's like, because we're just talking about movies, it's always like, it's like theories or like whatever ideas about movies. And it's like, well, no, you didn't write it. So you don't get to just retroactively decide Thanos is neurodivergent and that's okay. You're like, what?
What I don't get is, again, maybe this is me dismissing other people's fucking lived experience or whatever.
Yes, Batman has OCD.
Yeah, but it's like,
that's okay.
Why? I guess if those articles are just for themselves, again, maybe this is a form of art, right? Like people make music and they just do it for the love of music and it's a creative outlet for them. So maybe this is just something people have to do. They have to go through every movie because they're autistic. So they have to show you that everybody's autistic because it makes them feel better about themselves. Okay, maybe. But I don't get it. Like I personally don't get it, right? So that's me coming at it with my own baggage of just like, this was a thing that I struggled with because this happens. There's what's the word for it when on a TV show they'll bait their gay audience. So like if the audience will write fan fiction or whatever thinking the two characters are gay. I think the example...
Oh, shipping?
Yeah, shipping. Is that it?
Where people are saying like, I'm rooting for these characters. It can be any characters like that like to get together. Is that what you mean?
Yes. So I think the example I have in my head was this television show Supernatural, which I never watched. I read a lot of movie news, so I absorb shit, and then I never have time to watch or play any games anymore because I'm an old man, which is not true, actually. I've been, whatever. So that was a big one, right? And so this was like, it's a funny, weird cycle where there's an audience that wants the characters to be gay. So then the producers already have a story in mind, but they're like, well, there's a gay audience who wants these characters to be gay, so maybe we'll throw in some fucking whatever, like maybe they'll hold hands or something, right. And then that's leading the audience on. But then when the finale comes around and they don't fuck each other, then the audience gets mad that the producers baited them. You know what I mean? So it's like this weird cycle where it's like, well, if they already had a story, you're going to be upset that these characters aren't gay, but then the producers will give you kind of something just to tide you over, but then you're mad because they don't go all the way with it.
Yeah, people talk about their headcanon, where it's like, in my headcanon, like, Steve Rogers and Bucky are gay. It's like, okay, but they're not in the movie. Yeah. So it's just like fan fiction that you just kind of have going on, like an internal monologue. Where it becomes funny is when people decide like what the reality is of a character and then tell you that it's not okay for you to laugh at it anymore. Yeah. Like The Big Bang Theory is one of the worst shows ever made.
Yes.
But it makes me laugh when people are like, Sheldon is autistic, and so the fact that the other characters make fun of him is not okay. Yeah. It's like, is he autistic though? I mean, I don't know.
And that's why the show is not funny.
Yeah.
And not because of the terrible comedy.
And now it's not, now you have to stop. Yeah. They'll say like, in hindsight, like this character is autistically coded. And it's like, because they have interests or like, I don't know, or they are socially awkward awkward or something like that, and that's just, you've just decided that character is autistic. I mean, maybe, or maybe the actor made that choice, or maybe that was there, but you don't just get to say like C-3PO and R2-D2, they're gay and autistic.
Yeah.
And the fact that they don't get more screen time is an outrage. R2-D2 is nonverbal.
I don't know what to do with that sort of stuff, like the retroactive. I mean, again, this goes back to, I don't actually have to care, right? So it's like,
no, and that's the thing, I don't either. Just it's just funny to me.
But it does enter my mind where I'm like, and again, I've watched some interesting video essays, and I've read interesting articles that do make me think. And what I've had to train myself to do over the years was sort of not, like, the reason why I'm not one of these anti-woke YouTube guys is because I don't need to take attacks on the things I like as attacks on me, right? So it's like, if you want to suggest in some article that James Bond is a fucking tool of colonialism and horrible misogynist stuff, which he is, but it doesn't stop me liking James Bond. It's like comfort food for me.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate that, yeah, it's some fucking old-fashioned shit, and he like throws ladies around and stuff.
The only thing that you have to consider is that if someone is like deeply disturbed or offended by the thing, just don't make them watch it with you, or don't talk about it. Like, you have to accept that too. Like, if people are like, I am super not okay, like, we're watching Modern Family right now. I have a gay friend who told me that he cannot stand Cam. I'm like, well, it's a straight guy playing a gay guy, but I've also met gay guys like that, so I don't know what to tell you. I'm not going to say like, that's crazy, you don't like Modern Family? What's your problem, bro? Yeah. Like, you don't like Modern Family? Like, it's just irrelevant. He doesn't watch it. He doesn't know I'm watching it, so who cares?
Yes.
That's it. That's the end of it.
Yeah.
But if you're going to go on Facebook and post like that, a whole big tirade, it's like, that's what, whatever. Just to go back to, I mean, I have 2 daughters and they're little, but it's like, if you're a grown man and you're actually going to go on a tirade about The Little Mermaid, like, you're saying that in front of or near or whatever, like, your kids, they don't care. If anything, they're excited about the movie, and you're basically saying like, who's this dumb girl that thinks she can play that character?
Right.
That, like, I've decided she can't do that. It's like, that is that really the example you want to set for your kids? Get out of here.
But I love the amount that they will go into when they complain about Little Mermaid, especially, like, and the author was actually from,
was it Hans Christian Andersen?
So the mermaid wouldn't have been black because the author was.
What about In the Caribbean Sea? Yeah. They're a genius. You didn't care about the crab being freaking Jamaican.
No, that's the thing. That's when the thing falls apart, because it's a very selective complaints. It's always like, this is a problem, this thing's fine. Like, well, why is that fine if this one isn't fine? Like, at the end of the day, you don't want to sound like, but it's a trick though. It's the same as, it's a way of deterring people who are arguing against you. It's just be like, it's like gaslighting. It's like, well, everything you say, you just think everything we say is racist and sexist, and like, okay.
But if you're a person who has that response, then you are someone who says a lot of racist and sexist things. That's what kills me. People who say things like, you can't say anything anymore, or like people who are like really pushing back against the Me Too stuff. If you're saying like, oh, you can't say anything anymore, you can't even make a joke to your female coworker. It's like, well, what jokes were you making to a female coworker that you think are going to be an issue? Because if you think they're an issue, then you shouldn't be saying them. Yeah. If you think it's something where people are going to get mad at you, you should not have been saying it in the first place. Well, now you can't. Ever since all this stuff happened, you can't even smack anybody on the butt. Yeah, male or female. You shouldn't have done that in the first place, buddy.
Also, if you just exist in the world, you will find pretty much you can still, like Christmas, that's another one, just like, oh, you can't say Christmas or whatever. And like, I live in a small town where at Christmas time, well, number one, that's the funniest, the stupid Christmas war is the funniest of all, because Christmas starts in this country in October now. That's like the new thing. And I love for like those so many months of like, you can't say Christmas anymore and all this crap, that like every storefront for like 2.5 months just says Christmas everywhere, or just full of Christmas decorations. And I've never in my life ever offended or been offended by anyone saying Merry Christmas to me or me saying it back, ever.
No, I don't even know where that started, to be honest. I remember people saying like, Obama is the only president who never wrote a Christmas card. And I'm like, he wrote a Christmas card, right? And you can find it on the internet. There's a picture of it. Well, people, says Merry Christmas.
Again, when people have these things to say, like, I don't even respond anymore. Like, they already have the worldview. I remember, like, someone said the weirdest thing to me, and it was around, like, the start of COVID, when they were trying to point out that there was all these anomalies. And one of them was, we don't even know. They said they don't even know what happened to the Chinese Minister of Health. Like he was in the hospital. They wouldn't release his records or whatever. Like said this weird thing to me like that. I'm like, are we normally privy to Chinese diplomats' health records? Like, what? Like, they're communist. Like, what do you think? What? Like, and so it raised too many questions in my head where I'm like, I didn't even know what to say. Like, I actually just didn't say anything. I'm like, yeah, good point. Good point. Because normally that country that fucking doesn't tell anybody anything is just releasing the health records of its fucking diplomats and just sending it to us for no reason. Like, could you tell me the health records of one of our politicians?
And again, it's like by merely asking the question, they've blown the doors wide open. Well, how come we haven't gone back to the moon? They've gone back several times. But it's like 11 people have walked on the moon, and they're like, yeah, but not since then. I'm like, okay, well, you went from thinking no one had walked on the... First of all, you think the moon landing is fake. And then you kind of accept for a second that maybe 3 people went to the moon, and then you find out it's 11, and then you're saying, well, then how come we didn't go back after the 11th guy then? It's like, this is what I mean. Like, you're not playing with a full deck here.
No. But look, man, I'm sure the brave astronauts on the Apollo missions would have loved listening to cool music. So I got one here from Nomyn. I hope I'm saying that correctly. It's spelled Nomyn. And it's brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters like Andrew Bennon, Run the Skyway, Shadow Shift, and Rama Branch. And hope you all dig this. This is Elevate by Nomyn. And that was Nomyn with the track Elevate, which was brought to you by my awesome Patreon supporters like Jean-Christophe Lecomte and The Axel Effect, Monkey Magics, and Night of Ducks. And I'm here right now with Mark Edwards, who makes funny videos and does stand-up shows and voice acting, and we're talking about a whole bunch of stuff. The moon landing? I don't know what this show is anymore. It's just silly because, like, I'm not really a guy with super strong convictions on, like, every topic. So the reason I tease people who get worked up on the internet and say dumb shit is because I wouldn't put myself in those situations. Like, I'm not going to passionately join a debate where I could totally be destroyed with one counter argument.
Dude, and when it happens, it's like, I want to evaporate.
Yeah.
Like, there's been times where I've said something like, well, yeah, but that's because this. And they're like, what? No, it's not. My dad was a doctor for 30 years. You're like, what? What kind of doctor? Yeah. Like, you just like, it takes the wind out of your sails. And the fact that people will just double down like, well, yeah, but what about, it's just what about? Yeah, but what about this?
I always wondered too why, again, how the house of cards doesn't fold immediately. I guess it's I'm projecting my own insecurities, because like when someone says to, even if I'm right about something and then someone openly challenges me, there is a second where I'm taken aback, like, fuck, am I right? Like, do I have something wrong? Like, my instinct is always to be like, maybe I'm wrong. Like, so I sort of back off. I don't want to like, because I'm not like a fucking debate bro.
No.
Like, who knows? Maybe that person's right. And maybe I go back home and I realize, oh shit, like my fucking theory's off or whatever. And so to just be able to jump to the next thing, be like, oh yeah, but then well, how come this? I'm like, right, but since the first thing was wrong, you're done. There is no how about this. Like, your entire argument was based on this one pillar, and I just removed that pillar. You don't get to jump to another thing. Like, it's over. But it's amazing that people have that confidence.
Yeah, I neither have that confidence nor the desire to get myself stuck in a situation where I'm going to be miserably incorrect publicly.
Yeah. But they can just move past. That's again, it's all, no one checks the history of anything. One of these days I'm going to do this just for fun, because I've been meaning to do some kind of video. Like, I like watching video essays, but I've never really made one. I'm not really too passionate about too many topics, but one of them is like the sort of the anti-woke kind of crowd, because when it first popped up, I mean, when it comes to movies and stuff, I found it because I just happen to be one of those people who was just kind of disappointed by The Last Jedi. I'm one of those. And I was sort of confounded by the high Rotten Tomatoes rating. Because normally it's like, if a movie's divisive, you know, at best, maybe it's like a 70 on there or something, right? And so all I found were these people who were complaining about the film, and they're all like, oh, it's not about politics. It's just, we just want better movies. I'm like, sure, okay, I guess I agree with that. And then it very slowly becomes, let's fucking call Brie Larson a bitch for like 8 years. And there's this one channel that literally has like hundreds of videos just about how Brie Larson is a bitch.
Brie Larson from Community?
Brie Larson, the actress who plays Captain Marvel, because...
Oh, sorry, I was thinking of Alison Brie. Yes.
Because, and it all goes back to one event where at an awards show that nobody's ever heard of, there's a clip of her saying, we need more diverse movie reviewers or something.
Oh, that's actually a really interesting point.
Also innocuous and like nothing. It's sort of like a nothing point. Just like wouldn't it be good if more people reviewing things were more diverse or whatever? And so they latched onto that and got mad about it, and then found one clip where it looked like her co-stars were disinterested in her during a press interview. You know, it's like she's there with Chris Hemsworth and Don Cheadle, and they're kind of like, what the hell is she talking about? Giving that kind of face.
Right.
And that was it. And because of those two clips, there's this one channel, like my thesis statement is sort of like the irony that they'll sit there and be like, it's not about strong women or women in movies, it's that we want better written characters, and then have like 100 videos where you target specific women and just call them like horrible names, and like there literally is hundreds. Like, it's not like one time you criticized a female games journalist or whatever. Like, if you have like 100 videos where you're specifically targeting a specific woman and just calling her names for years and years and years, there's a point where a reasonable person can go, okay, if it's not sexist, what is this? Like, I don't know what to say, but I mean, like, if you literally like specifically target and harass like women in general for hundreds of videos, I don't know another word for this, like, other than this one.
I literally can't even imagine like the thinking behind that, unless they've found some way to like seriously monetize it, which again is not a good reason to do it.
But
I'm like,
that is it.
If they actually feel that way, they're out of their minds. And if they don't feel that way and they do it anyways, they're out of their minds.
Yeah, what bugs me is when you have a platform, I think the thing I resent is that it's based on negativity. Not that I'm like some kumbaya guy, but like, okay, again, I'll grant you, some actress says a stupid thing and you want to criticize her. Okay, you get 1 or 2 videos out of that and I'll be like, I'm not going to cheer you on, but it's like, okay, fine, she said a stupid thing. You want to comment on it? That's what people do. We comment on famous people who say stupid things. But to make 100 videos, that's when it's weird as hell. And that's where like when the video isn't even about Brie Larson, she's still in the thumbnail with fake CGI eyes crying in the corner with that person who screamed when Trump got elected. You know that like and like that person's in all the pictures and that red-haired chick who's yelling.
Yeah. Triggered feminist.
Yeah. And there's a point where it's like you have a following and you're literally just monetizing negativity. Everyone in the comments, even when you don't say things, you just have to look at the comments to go like, they're picking up the subtext, right? So you don't have to say things out loud, but everyone in the comments is pretty like crystal clear on what's being said in this video. And I just think if you have that, you could make a positive impact. Like if you truly hate these movies and you're like, oh, storytelling's dead and they're not following the hero's journey and there's women, then you have like 1 million followers. Fucking make something. Go on Kickstarter right now. I'm sure there's like fucking 10 of your viewers who maybe know how to do some CGI or whatever. Fucking make a science fiction movie the way that you think they should be done. I just think you could spin it into positivity and creativity. Like instead of just being like, hey, let's bitch about this all day, let's fucking just make something. Let's make the movie that we think is better than this fucking woke garbage or whatever, right? I mean, like that's...
Yeah, I think you're grossly overestimating the actual creative ability of these losers. If they could make something, they'd make something of themselves. Look, I often look at these morons and go, I wish there was some way to like take them down a peg. But then I realized they have to wake up every day and be themselves, and that's punishment enough. To just grow up with your kids not talking to you and, you know, your wife leaving you, just working at Lowe's. Good luck, man.
But if the wife leaves, it's because she's been overtaken by the woke mind virus, right? It won't be your fault.
Brie Larson called her.
Yeah.
The reason women don't want to date men anymore is because of Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. The dating world is impossible right now because of feminism. No, it's because of your personality, champ.
Yeah, and I don't go outside. And if a woman ever saw my YouTube channel, like, what do you do?
And I always call women terrible names, but none of them will date me. Feminists.
Yeah, I like the idea, like, if you met one too, and like, what do you do? Oh, I have a YouTube channel. You should check it out. What do you do? Well, at least once a week I post 2 videos about how Brie Larson's a bitch, and then there's this female games journalist you've never heard of who made like 2 videos about 10 years ago, and I call her a bitch all the time too, and that's...
A games journalist. Yeah.
Remember that? Remember
no.
The integrity of video game journalism was under attack? That was the whole Gamergate movement.
Why did they let a female reviewer on IGN write the review of Fallout New Vegas?
But that's the whole point, is like, there's so many outlets now. It's always been, when it comes to reviews, that you pretty much just want to find, there's usually a person out there who you can find that like kind of agrees with your sentiments, or roughly, right? Like when we were younger, it was like Siskel and Ebert, and it's like, I really like, Ebert's reviews. And you didn't need 100 reviewers. Like, you just found the one you liked based on, like whatever. Like, I like Gene Shalit, or what, I'm fucking saying names I remember. Gene Shalit. But nowadays there's just so many outlets, so many people, so many Twitters to fucking, you blow up the spot of a person who is like 1 like on their tweet and be like, look what this feminist said. And just like, dude, no one looked at what that feminist said until you fucking took this screenshot and put it in your video. Like, no one read that. It was nothing. Like, you have to dig. And again, it's inconsequential when it's like against a giant corporation making big movies, where it's just like it doesn't matter what anyone complains about the next Grand Theft Auto game. Like, in fucking 10 years time, whenever that fucking thing comes out, it's going to make $1 billion regardless of any review, right? Like, people, I've probably already pre-bought that thing without realizing it. And so it's like, you don't have to care. So like, if there's there's going to be a bunch of super woke people complaining that the things I like suck. I don't need to read their reviews, but they don't matter to me. They might matter to them. They might have an audience where that shit matters, but you don't have to engage with it. if you don't, unless you want to be mad.
I think people only care about, they pretend to care, whatever, about things that are enormously popular.
Yes.
And I'm talking about, I'm on both sides of the conversation.
Yes.
People being like, there's too many female superheroes. Yeah, that's because Marvel's really big, but you don't watch Coronation Street. There's lots of women on there. Like, you just don't care because it's not mainstream.
And they're not punching people through walls.
Yeah, so you'll have people throwing a big fuss about Doctor Who. Too many women, not enough women, whatever, because Doctor Who is a big thing that's been on forever. But like, nobody's going like, why are there no Koreans on frickin' George Lopez's most recent sitcom? Yeah. It's like, yeah, because you don't watch it and you don't care, right? But
yes.
You know, if it's SNL, all of a sudden it's like, excuse me, why haven't we checked off every box? It's like, I don't know.
Well,
I'm not the executive producer. Don't watch it.
The SNL criticism's a big one because I see that all the time. Like, well, SNL hasn't been funny in years. But then when someone's on there they like, all of a sudden, well, that one was good. And or they'll be surprised to find out that Michael Che and Colin Jost have like this really funny back and forth thing where they do like the offensive jokes they write for each other.
Oh yeah, you can't say anything on TV, but this is the only good part of SNL. It's like, no, it's the only part you watch because you're watching it on Facebook.
When I watch some of the more recent seasons, like there's some funny shit on there, but it's the same as kind of skit comedy in 1.5 hour format has always been, where some skits work, some don't. You remember the great ones. Like I love Kids in the Hall. I used to watch Kids in the Hall all the time when I was young. Not every episode and not every skit is a classic, but I just keep in my head the classics.
Yeah. Same with SCTV. Same with In Living Color.
Yeah.
Mad TV.
Dude, what some people consider the golden era of SNL, like it's like, well, when it was Farley and Sandler and stuff, there are some fucking clunkers if you watch those reruns where skits go on for like 11 minutes.
Yeah.
The whole joke is it's guys with wigs on.
Yep.
And like that's the joke is that they're playing women, but Chris Farley looks like a big fat one, so it's funny. And it's like, dude, this joke does not sustain 11 minutes of a television show.
I just think most people are having these conversations in bad faith. Like I said, the guy who says you can't say anything in the comedy club anymore has never been to a comedy club. Sure. So it's like, there's no point in having this conversation. If I'm at the comedy club and another comedian on the show goes, bro, why did they boo that joke? Then we talk about it, sure. But for someone who like, it doesn't even have one foot in that world, it's like, don't start going on. You were never going to watch the movie, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Well, it's people repeating that argument without bothering to to think whether it's true. Like if you just, it's strange to me that there's people who get their opinions, like all of their opinions from a source. I guess you have a podcast you like, and so you just watch it, and everything they say on there, you just walk away and go like, well, I'm gonna just repeat that stuff I heard. And it's like, why? Like, we all just talk about your life or whatever. Like when you're in conversation with another person, you can just say what you did that day, or here's a movie I liked or whatever. Like we don't have to be like walking around talking in catchphrases. Because like, people do say that fucking thing, like you can't say this anymore, and it's like,
no, when should you have? And you still can. That's the thing. You still can say it, but no one's gonna like you. So
yes,
go ahead.
It's also that I think people don't understand. I mean, because the world is obviously different now. Like, I mean, the first half of my life, there was no internet. And now we've at the point where your avatar online is kind of you. And the reason why cancel culture discussions annoy me now is regardless of the merits or like when it started or whatever and how true or not true it is, the fact is you can't complain about something for like 8 years and be surprised or upset at a result, like just like, oh, you can't say this anymore. I'm like, well, you've been saying that for like 10 years. So at this point, if you say something and get fired, you're an idiot because you've literally been talking about this for 10 years. If you're like some actor who's just like, oh, I tweeted out this fucking meme and got fired. I'm like, right, because you've been talking about for years that if you tweet shit like this, your company will fire you.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like, it's just fucking stupidity. It's like, you can't complain about this for so long and then act surprised. This is the world now. Maybe you don't like it, but it's like, that's the nature of things. Your avatar online is you, and you work for somebody. And if you go online and you say something stupid, they're going to associate that with you because you said it. And if it gets back to them, you might be in trouble because that's the world we live in. And that's the world we live in because you talk about it all the time. So it's just ridiculous.
What it all comes back to is Brie Larson is the reason I didn't get into Sherry. I don't know how.
I just took a drink of water.
I don't know how, but... she
retroactively went back in time with her feminism.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, listen, man, look, it's been fun to talk with you. I don't know. This is a weird...
Are your episodes normally freaking 3 hours long once you add the music?
Sometimes they are, but in this case, I might just post this as is. With some editing. I don't care anymore. I've been doing this show for like 10 years.
Don't you dare edit out my comments about Viva Rock Vegas.
That's the first to go. I'm going to beep it out. Like when you say the title of the movie, it's like, beep.
What's he talking about?
Yeah, man. But so what should people go look for you on the web or anything?
I mean, really just I'm at some guy Mark on Instagram and TikTok. But no, I mean, that's it. If you want to see my dumb videos, they're there. And if you are in the GTA-ish, I am performing somewhat regularly. I'm starting this monthly show in Guelph, and I'm also starting, hopefully, a monthly show at a comedy bar in Toronto. Yeah, it's me and a bunch of my friends who are all comedians. And I'm sorry, but they're all white guys.
Listen, I get it. The point is... you're a funny guy. You make funny videos. They come highly recommended from me. I get a good laugh. I like them. And of course, there's the ones you did with the sunglasses kid with the fucking fake mustache, which was sort of funny because I literally talked to him about doing something like that, but mine was going to be serious. So I wasn't going to do the joke route with I was going to do like AI myself into like a warehouse scenario and film like little like scenes where I'm like running around like with a gun and stuff.
Right.
And you did another thing that I've always wanted to do too. So it's nice because when I see people do a thing I wanted to do, it like gets it off my chest and like, oh, okay, good. The pointing, those stupid TikTok videos where people point at just stuff behind them.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I'm always just like, I wanted to do a video where I was pointing, but then what I'm pointing at is a video of me pointing at the other guy. So like, we're just like pointing at each other. And I'm like, but when I see someone do the joke better than I would have, I'm just like, all right, good. It's sort of like, I feel a sense of peace.
My buddy James Godfrey, he has a very funny YouTube channel that he hasn't posted on in a long time, but he did this very funny video where it's called Reacting to Myself Before I Was Famous. And the video in the corner is just the same video that you're watching. It's just him looking down in the corner.
Nice.
Because he was never famous. So it's just his face looking disappointed and then a smaller version of the same video of him looking disappointed.
Well, it's good, man. So listen, it was nice to chat with you. And keep on making cool things. And I'm sure my audience is going to be like really confused at this episode, but I don't give a shit. I got to do things to entertain myself sometimes. I've been doing this for like 10 years, and sometimes I'm just like, you know what? When I see people who make cool things, I like to chat with them, even if it's very tangentially related to what I normally do.
Here's what we'll do. I'll make a wave synth song, and I'll send it to you. And then you just put it at the beginning, and then we'll talk for 2.5 hours afterwards.
The fact that you just called it wave synth is all that we need.
Or is it synth wave? Oh, you know, wave synth is one of the plugins I have.
Sure. Does that you get to declip your mouth sounds or whatever, or de-essing?
No, it's I don't even remember what it is.
Well, it's the brand Waves. They do like all those. What is this? Okay, we got. We're done. But look, man, it was great talking to you, and you have a lovely day.
You too, man. See ya.
All right, and that was my chat with Mark Edwards. I hope you enjoyed that. I should say a few more Patreon shout-outs. You know, you're all awesome. So I would just like to round out the $10 club. So a big thank you to Binkley and Barry 007 and Tristan Waits and Matthew Lister, Willow and Roman. You guys are all cool. Thank you so much for supporting the show. I hope you all have enjoyed the bonus content on the Patreon. Like I said, I am currently working on a series with Color Theory, but we're not going to start releasing those until we have a bunch in the can so that I can make sure it really does come out once a week. So there's a good chance those won't start coming out until July, but that's a good one. We're listening to all the Depeche Mode albums and talking about them because we're big Depeche Mode fans, and it's we go through every single thing. But just like a regular episode of Beyond Synth, there's a lot of tangents and a lot of me going on tangents. Okay, listen, go follow Mark Edwards. He's on Instagram, he's on TikTok, and they're funny videos. They come with Andy's seal of approval, like the Nintendo seal of approval, or like any seal of approval. It doesn't have to be a video game metaphor. It can be whatever you want, okay? Tune in next time to Beyond Synth. It is the best synthwave chat show there is. For real, though.
Beyond Synth Radio is produced by Andy Last. Check the show notes for more information on the musicians featured on the show. Consider supporting Beyond Synth at patreon.com/BeyondSynth. Thanks for listening.